Who are we missing? Patrick?
Yeah.
He just dropped in.
He did, okay. Patrick, you ready to go?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. All right, Dan, we're on YouTube.
We are ready. Yep, on YouTube.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm calling to meeting the Narragansett Town Council regular meeting, April 19, 2021. Let's please start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Going and on.
Okay, we'll start with the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 22nd, 2021?
Move the motion.
Public hearing.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye. Oh, I'll move it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was all ready to vote.
So excited.
All right, we have the motion by Susan, seconded by Eva. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Drzezinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
And Patrick?
That's Murray, aye.
SCQ, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Next, we have a presentation by the Community Development Director, Mike DeLuca, regarding the Middlebridge design update.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the council. I've got a brief PowerPoint for you today to bring you up to speed on the renovations that are going on, or will be going on, I should say, at the Middlebridge property, the area you see behind me in a 1930s postcard. It certainly doesn't look like that today, but believe it or not, every one of those buildings you see behind me are still there. So if I can share the screen.
You should be all set.
All right. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Great. Give me a moment to get myself adjusted. Okay. So I want to just start by talking about the Middlebridge property itself. It's a 9.5 acre site. You know where it is, right at Middlebridge on our side of the river. It's on both sides of the street, about 8.5 acres on the north side, where all the small buildings are, the little cottages and the cafe. And then about an acre on the south side, which is supporting the kayak operation. As you can see, the Middlebridge property presently supports a paddleboard operation, 37 slip marina, the caretaker's residence, 2 residential rental units. There are 2 vacant buildings now, one of the residential buildings and the cafe, the yellow building. And then there's the marina, which is being used as storage. And the storage building that has been erected recently, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago, by the URI Women's Crew team. And here's a good picture of it today, looking somewhat different, but not too much different than the picture behind me. And you can see the marina. This is the marina building here, the cafe, 2 of the cottages, 1 is obscured. The URI Crew building is also obscured. The caretaker's house is right here off screen. And you can see this parking lot right here in the front. We're going to spend a little more time talking about that. And here's an aerial photo of it. So again, Middlebridge Road down at the bottom of the screen, the driveway entrance here, the 3 cottages, the cafe building, the marina. Here's the caretaker's property. And the URI Crew building is not yet in this picture. This picture is 5 years old, so my apologies for not having a more up-to-date one. So let me tell you a little bit about recent activity. The Land Trust completed the management plan for the Middlebridge in 2017. This was a very much a team effort, including input from the Parks and Rec Department, the town engineer at the time, Jeff Cesarine, my office, and the land trust themselves. They had numerous policies set forth. The 20th one was a great idea brought up by one of the land trust members at a meeting that I happened to be in attendance at, probably around 2016 or so. And that was to relocate the main driveway from the west side of the buildings to the east side of the buildings, and to remove the existing paving and establish a waterfront passive recreation area. So with that as one of the many policies they were trying to pursue, we became aware in 2019 of some grant opportunities. The first one was called an SAID, Shoreline Adaptation Inventory and Design. This is funded through the Coastal Resource Management Council. And what was really interesting about this program was that the application only required from us submittal of like a fact sheet. It wasn't even a full-blown application, but the fact sheets were submitted to the CRMC staff. They vetted them and brought them to the council. And in the end, our application was approved, along with, I think, 10 or 11 or 12 others. So in February, we submitted the information that CRMC wanted and needed. And then in March of 2020, which is amazingly fast for the state of Rhode Island, and give them kudos, they approved a grant. It was an aggregated grant. I'm not sure the full total amount, but there was about $20,000 out of it dedicated to our project. And this is for a 60% design study. Now, a 60% design study is not designing 60% of the site. It's bringing a plan to 60% of completion. So a little bit more than a concept design, but somewhat less than a construction design that would have all the details of what was going to be built and where. So somewhere in the middle. So the CRMC let us know that the Middlebridge site had been chosen, and they hired GZAGO Environmental Services. They're a company in Rhode Island. I don't know if they've done work in Narragansett, but they've done a lot of work all over the state, and I'm familiar with them. And very importantly, there was no local match required. So at this point, there was $20,000 dedicated to a design plan. And here's some of the information that was generated through that first stage. There was a concern about, well, let's go to the middle here, the low-lying parking area. We've seen photographs, and I have some in my own file of this parking lot being filled with water, either during storms or even sometimes during king tides, which is a high tide. And so the idea is to get rid of this asphalt and replace it with greenery, but very special greenery, salt-tolerant plants. North of that, and if you're familiar with it, right here is in the picture, this is a boat ramp. North of the boat ramp right here is where a lot of the cars park that use the boat ramp. But they could see in the initial study that the salt marsh was migrating inland. And we wanted to encourage that and allow the salt marsh to take hold. So we thought that the best thing to do would be to clear out this area here of parking and relocate the parking area to this side of the property. Here's another picture of, if you've been down there, you're familiar with this. This is the driveway, looking at it from the marina ramp. And you can see this riprap here. And you can see that it's somewhat discontinuous. Some of it's stone. There's a big section of asphalt here, another section of concrete that runs right down into the water. And here's the photograph of the boat ramp itself in this area of salt marsh that is migrating inland. And we wanted to try to encourage that salt marsh to come back in to the level that it can. And the important thing about a salt marsh is it will only reach as far as the water will reach during the high tides. That the salt marsh grasses won't grow any further inland. So continuing the timeline, while we were working on the application for the SAID grant, we also became aware of a new grant called the Climate Resiliency Grant. And this grant round was set for the very next month. So, and that could cover the cost of not only engineering, but construction of a project. So we drafted an application. I did, along with Steve Wright and town manager Tierney. We put together an application requesting $144,000 of the estimated $190,000 cost for the construction of the driveway and the removal of the driveway and replacement with vegetation. That does require a local match. The council allowed us to make that application. We submitted it in July. I'm sorry, we submitted in April, and in July, rather, there was an award of over $4 million for 13 recipients. We were one, and of the $144,000 we requested, $140,000 was awarded. Our local match will be around $50,000. So then GZA was already hired. We had a field meeting with the CRMC staff, DEM and GZA staff. Steve and I were there, along with Wenley Ferguson from Save the Bay. And we walked the site with GZA. Shortly thereafter, they had already been working on a site plan. They provided us with the first draft of the 60% plan. Steve and I made some comments about certain aspects of the site plan, the way the driveway was oriented, that kind of thing. And a second draft was submitted to us in December. And then shortly thereafter, just a month or so ago, we got the third draft of the 60% design plan. Also, before I move on, I'm going to show you the plan. That's not the last slide. We found out that the CRMC staff was aware that they had additional funding available under the SAID grant, and that the 60% design plan could be brought to 100% design at no cost to the town. They put forth an RFP. GZA responded, and they were chosen to, no, I'm sorry. I don't think it was an RFP. I think it was just a contract amendment, because GZA got the contract for the $37,000. So we are going to get a 100% design plan for a combined cost of about $56,000 at no cost to the town of Narragansett. And here is the 60% design plan. I know there's a lot of lines and a lot of color here, so I'll try to give you the high points. Just first, bringing your orientation to the road and the marina. There's the marina building, the cluster of the cafe and the 3 cottages. The caretaker's house is off the site, and here is the storage site for the women's crew shells. This area here in blue, green, and pink is going to be redesigned completely. That riprap that you saw along the shoreline is going to be removed and then relocated. It's going to be reused. It's not taken away, but it's going to be relocated, and the slope is going to be made a little bit more favorable for plants. In the pink area, they're going to plant salt-tolerant grasses, the kind that you see across the street if you're looking past the Narrow River Kayaks site. You see that salt grass on the marsh. Then if you can see closely, and I hope this shows up, I can make this a little bigger. This blue area will be salt-tolerant grasses, but more of a grass type grass, not the marsh grass that will be down in the pink zone. And this green area here will be regular grass, so that, importantly, the public can use this area to walk on. There'll be a new fence here, new fencing here along the front line. The single handicap parking space will remain. The fence along the street line, which is falling apart, will be replaced. The new driveway is right here, this big T-shaped thing. That will be a gravel driveway coming in right at the eastern border of the property. And moving it from here to here, which is just about a couple hundred feet, is going to significantly enhance the safety of access and egress to this property. The other things are, so this is going to be the improved driveway. The parking area will be reset and reshaped. You saw it in the aerial photograph. It wasn't exactly shaped like this, but it's actually going to be reshaped, and they will be putting in bollards at the corners. I'm sorry, here, 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 and then over here, slightly off the screen, and here. That will assist the Recreation Department staff in laying out this parking area in every springtime, but not necessarily need to have lines drawn in the sand, which is exactly all they've got there, sand and grass. And then all the other shaded areas that you can see here are walking paths. So there'll be a new walking path coming right down here over to the front. This is the front of the building, and there's a crosswalk right there. This path also brings people to the crosswalk. So that will enhance pedestrian safety to cross, to go over to the Narrow River kayaks. This little section right here will be a bus turnout, because occasionally Narrow River kayaks does attract large groups. So we are in a really good shape. We're in really good shape for this project. The GZA environmental engineering firm is working on finalizing the 100% design plan. And once that is done, we will be preparing RFP to go out for construction, utilizing the $144,000 of grant money that was afforded us under the second grant. And with that, I am done. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the detailed presentation, as usual. Anyone on the council have any questions for Mike or comments?
Mike, I did have a question. During the budget season, I saw a bike path at Middlebridge for $2 million, and it drew my attention, and I wasn't sure. Is that involved in this plan at all?
No, that's not part of the plan at all. No, there's no bike path there. A bike path at Middlebridge is something I'm not aware of, to be quite honest with you.
I think, Susan, that was actually bike path money for either the bike path extension or the evaluation of where we were going to be able to put that extension. I don't think it was related to Middlebridge.
All right, because it was in Middlebridge, that's why I was confused, and I actually called it out during the budget. I didn't know what it was, but no bike path, just walking
Right.
trails in there, and looks good. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the back area that I didn't spend a lot of time describing is just an open pasture meadow, as you know. There's a garden back there that Mr. Eddie has been.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's going to be reoriented. I think his garden is going to get relocated, but somewhere closer to his house, and that will make it available. That area will be available for passive recreation.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I just want to also thank Steve for all the work he put in on responding to the first, second drafts and guiding me as to making certain that the design plan that we submitted, or the design concepts we submitted to CRMC and GZA were appropriate for the Parks and Rec Department and under their objectives and policies.
Steve, Mike, I just wanted to say that I get my people mixed up. That I've been to a couple of conservation conferences in the last couple of months, and that whole issue of seagrass or saltgrass moving inland is very common in areas where the sea levels are rising. So that movement is really, I think, a brilliant idea, and it's a beautiful plan. I did have one question. The parking, that's for the kayak center too, right? Because that's a lot of parking, it looked like.
Exactly. Yeah, they have. Steve could give you better detail on that. They have within their contract with the town designated certain number of spaces for their use. So we had to make sure that those spaces were retained, and we didn't lose any number of spaces,
Right.
which we did not. The total number on the site is 135 spaces.
I think it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is great stuff. So I'm actually, one of the classes I'm taking at URI this semester is coastal resilience. So this actually really is a great project. So I'm excited about it.
Great.
And thank you, Mike, and thank you, Steve, for all the work.
Okay.
Jesse, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Councilor Murray, any comments, or are you good to go?
I got a couple questions. How'd you get around the septic system? Aren't you crossing the D-box there for that septic?
Oh, very, very perceptive, Mr. Murray. Yes, they know that they're going to have to provide some form of protection. It's the septic tank will be to the left of that driveway, and of course, the septic bottomless sand filter is to the right, if you recall the graphic I just showed you.
Right.
So it will be running under the road, and then will have to be protected. They're not sure how deep it is, and the GCA staff will be looking to see if it's deep enough where it doesn't need special protection, or if it's not, what will they have to do? And they may have to provide some a sleeve or some other form of
Right.
support to make certain that it doesn't get damaged.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to destroy that thing, and would be in a pickle. Okay, bathrooms. We've got that vacant building. While we're going through all that process, and where we can provide his and her bathroom in that vacant.
Well, there's been some discussion about how to reuse all of the buildings there. As we know, I believe Steve could tell you, I think there's only one tenant besides Mr. Eddie on the site now. And so we have vacant cottages, and we have the vacant cafe building, yellow building. So, and they are all hooked up, or they are all connected to the septic system.
They're already
So
connected.
It's something else to talk about. It's not part of the driveway relocation and waterfront resiliency project that I just described.
All right, maybe we should make it a part of that. Also, the fish house, it's right on, no plans on raising that, right?
No,
Is
it's,
the elevation gonna raise where the parking lot is now? Is that gonna be elevated?
I know Steve has some plans for improvements on that. I defer to him on that, but I can tell you that the foundation of the marina house, which, let's see if my finger is, yeah, right. I'm gonna do like what the the weathermen do. That building there actually has foundation that comes up about 3 feet above the ground.
Yep.
So behind those walls, even though the walls go all the way to the ground, the foundation comes up rather high. And it was built that way on purpose so that it could withstand being inundated.
Right.
So,
Right, but because this is a coastal, what's the name of the grant?
it's a shoreline adaptation grant, and it's a coastal resiliency grant.
Right, so
True.
wouldn't coastal resiliency be part of that building?
We didn't specify any work to be done on that building itself with the
Right,
grant
okay.
funds. We were working more on the waterfront and the natural features of the site.
So the elevation of that site's not gonna be raised up at all?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's it.
Mike, I just have one other question. You talked about possibilities for the yellow building and the cottages. Who ultimately is going to determine the uses? Is it the land trust people? Are they going to meet? Is it the town? I mean, I know they've been discussions for years, but ultimately it's not in the plan as determined. Who will be the person or the group that will sort of come up with the plan for whether it's the bathrooms, whether the cottages stay, or that kind of stuff?
Well, it's really a team effort. Certainly the land trust would want to be front and center on this because they are the stewards of the site from that standpoint, since they were the primary, they ushered through the primary acquisition. But certainly Parks and Recreation Department has to have some involvement, and you folks. It's going to come to you eventually. And as you know, Steve has been working on the individual buildings there.
For a long
Each year
time.
he's got a couple of projects going, and we're trying to take these one step at a time. It's not something we're going to do as one big project. It's going to be a series of small projects.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll
Nice
defer to
job.
Steve in case I've said anything inappropriate there.
No, I think you're right on target. Right now, I would say, as I said in the budget hearing the other night, we have the marina building is scheduled to be renovated, the exterior renovated in the next couple of weeks. That's a $56,740 project. And it won't be elevated, but as we saw back in Hurricane Sandy, and as Mike said, that building can sustain that type of weather. And so we're rest assured, I think with the renovations, the exterior portion of that building will be in good shape. Then we can work on the interior. We've had we've had a number of interests in the yellow building over the last couple of years. We're still entertaining that, but we really haven't got to the point where someone's wanted to renovate that building at their own cost. We just lost one of our tenants, so we have URI is using one of the cottages for storage and water. And there's a tenant in number B, number C is open. That's a possibility for public restrooms, but again, it's a very small building and it needs to be ADA accessible. So down the road, we certainly can explore that for public restrooms because we're obligated right now to have porta johns there for the season for our 37 slip marina and for public use. So that's something we certainly could entertain, and I would definitely do that.
Yeah, Steve, for the record, if we take those buildings down, that's it. You can't put them back, correct?
Exactly. And we've already lost one building during Hurricane Sandy, and we can't replace that footprint.
Right.
So, that's why we've been moving extremely slow. But as Mike said, one building at a time. I think this is a great opportunity with these grants to be able to move this entrance, do this work, and get the marina building in place because we know that that's got some historical significance to the town. The other buildings will do one at a time, and it's going to look a lot better in hopefully another 6 months to a year. I think people will be pleasantly surprised.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that we're not raising the elevation of that, where the old road is to offset any future flooding. I thought that's what the intent of these grants are.
Well, this grant, I mean, Mike can answer this question better than I can, but this grant, these folks came to us and they were looking to remove the asphalt and do more of the waterfront instead of, the building structures. I think it was up to want to tear all the buildings down, to be honest with you. So,
right. Well, we shouldn't let that happen.
Well, I think the other thing that might be helpful is the fact that when you put the salt grass in, it actually absorbs the water so that, it serves as a buffer against any buildings that are there. So there's, that would support, or would help mitigate any issues that might happen in a severe storm or tide.
There's no doubt about it. And I think I've shown most of you over the years, as Mike said, during those moon high tides, king high tides, that area, that one little parking lot sustains a tremendous amount of water. I mean, that's why if you remember when we first bought the property, we actually had the tenant that's in cottage B living on the second floor of that property. We had to remove him because he couldn't get out of that apartment without getting soaked. So,
right.
All right, well, thank you, Mike and Steve, for the presentation.
All right.
So before we move on, we do have our 2021 Arbor Day proclamation. So we'll go ahead with that. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, we, the Town Council of Narragansett, Rhode Island, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day in the town of Narragansett, and urge all residents to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, we urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden their hearts and promote the well-being of this and future generations. All right, we do have 1 minute before 8 o'clock. Before I forget, we do want to keep the public updated on the latest COVID developments in town. So we're going to have the town manager, Jim Tierney, give a quick update on that.
Good evening, everyone at the council and at home. I'll just get some bullet points updates that people have asked about. First of all, the South Road vaccination pod has been closed, the regional pod for South County. We're referring everyone now to the state regional sites, and we're encouraging people to go to www.vaccinateri.org to make your appointment. The South Road testing site for COVID remains open.
Geez.
We've obtained enough Binex rapid tests that are available for all town staff. We have an ample supply of them, and they're being distributed to the departments so that people can be tested right on site. We did have an increase of 36 cases last week for a grand total of 1,574. Many of you may have seen the article in Go Local Proud. They said as far as Rhode Island goes, we were number 2 in the nation as far as per capita per 100,000 for cases. So we're not out of it yet. As of today, all Rhode Island is age 16 and over are eligible for COVID-19 vaccine. For those of you who don't have any transportation to get to a vaccination site, RIPTA has offered to provide free transportation to anyone in the state traveling to and from a vaccination site, starting today. Anyone can call who's interested. Their customer service line, 401-781-9400. Even though the pod is closed, they administered 11,501 vaccinations at the site. Chief Partington was very active in that. And it was a tremendous task that was put upon the municipalities, and I want to thank him for that. The first dose is in Narragansett, 6437, and that's about 2.5% above the state average. And the second dose is 4561, about 3% above the state average. And that's about it. We encourage people to get vaccinated, continue to get tested, and take the precautions so we can get out of this soon. Thank you.
All right. Terry, do you know if, or Dan, do you know if we have the stenographer on for the public hearing?
So, let's see. One sec.
Terry, is it Diane?
Should be. Yep, Diane is there. Okay, hang on one second. Dan, I just moved her to a panelist.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, Diane. Just let us know when you're ready to go, and we'll get started since we can't see you. Diana,
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, great.
Oh.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, so it's a few minutes past 8. We have our public hearing for tonight. Do we have a motion to open and hold a public hearing on a petition from St. Thomas More Church and St. Veronica Chapel for the partial road abandonment of a portion of Joy Lane?
I'll move the motion to open the public hearing. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Second.
Second by Patrick Murray. All right. Terry, do you know if the attorney is on? I think it's Mr. Landry.
He is.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, Mr. Landry, how you doing?
Good evening. Sorry, I thought I would see myself on the screen. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, and members of the council. Attorney Matthew Landry, on behalf of the applicant.
Great, thanks for being here. Yeah, if you want to go ahead, feel free.
I'm not sure if you have the survey plans in front of you, or I can share my screen, whatever's easier. I'm also joined by Dan DeCessoris from Casali Engineering, who can answer any questions related to the site plan that you might have.
All right, yeah, if you're able to share your screen, I think that would be the best for the public.
Sure.
Great, thank you.
Actually, Mr. DeLuca has it up here.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I just put it up.
Thank you,
Yeah, so
Mike.
what you have in front of you here is the abandonment plan that is before the council. Towards the north, the top left of the plan, you'll see a little dotted line. It says Joy Lane, and that's the portion that we're seeking to have abandoned. This is a partial road abandonment of that portion of Joy Lane. And the proposed abandonment section is actually located entirely within the limits of the parish parking lot property, or actually the whole parish parking, just north of the parish parking lot area within the confines of the entire lot. It's important to stress that this portion of Joy Lane is actually not developed. It only exists on paper and was never actually improved. This exists on an old 1928 plat map that was recorded for the Bonnet Shores area and was actually Highview Avenue back in the 1920s. And I did an extensive title search on this property and chased the title forward. And the Roman Catholic Church has owned this property for several decades, and then it was transferred to the parish itself. And oddly enough, this section of roadway was actually expressly reserved title throughout its history, actually. And since the parish has owned it, it's really ceased to have any useful utility for the public, since the parish owns all the property south of the existing portion of Joy Lane. So I've received a number of phone calls from members of the public that live along Joy Lane or Carroll Lane. And I just want to stress that Joy Lane and Carroll Lane as they exist will be exactly the same. None of that is proposed to be abandoned. That will remain unaffected. Again, this is really just a portion of roadway that exists on a recorded map, and for whatever reason throughout the history was never abandoned. And this is the first stage in a two-stage process. The parish is looking to expand the parking lot. It's a much needed expansion. As everyone knows, the parking in that area is very difficult during service, and there'll be an upcoming planning board and zoning board application to construct a driveway where this abandonment portion is. That's not currently before the council, but just out of view for everybody to know what the parish's intent is. It's to construct a driveway in that portion and expand the parking lot. And we can't do that while this is on a recorded map. There was a question of whether or not this was merely a paper street that only affects the abutters around it. I couldn't find anything in the title history relating to this other than the reservation and title to the parish, but out of an abundance of caution, we're asking the council to abandon this portion because it is on a recorded map and the remainder of Joy Lane is a public street. You know, there's no contest about that. So we think it's necessary to abandon this portion. And the only other lot that's really affected by this is lot 121, which is just to the northwest. That corner lot, that's a vacant lot owned by Mr. Joe Murator. I've had several conversations with him during this application process, and he appeared before the planning board during its advisory recommendation. And I don't presume to speak for him, but I understand that he's in agreement with our proposal. Originally, that lot line was about 11 feet further to the north. It was a little bit more square, but to preserve his legal lot frontage, we actually moved that line a little further south, about 11 feet. So that way we could preserve his legal lot frontage. And the question becomes, since that's not actually an improved section, if it should remain, town roadway. So we put a little note on the plan to the top of the page there. It says parcel A to be deeded to the town. I believe it's already public, but it's not paved. So it's a little bit of a legal technicality. So we're not proposing to abandon that 11-foot portion. We can't render lot 121 non-conforming by taking away their frontage. So that's the reason for it. But the parish's lot line actually follows that little 11-foot dotted line, but we moved it south to preserve that and upon request of the planning board. So So that's the subject of this request. Again, you can see it a little bit more clearly. There's about a 3,500 square foot area, that dotted line that is proposed to be abandoned. It's just woods today. It's entirely within the parish limits of their property. And there's really no public utility to this. It's never been used by the public. And originally there were lots proposed to be developed in this area that obviously were never developed since the property is owned by the parish now. So that's the petition before the council. The future development of that roadway into a driveway and the expansion of the parking lot will come if this council grants this petition. And there's a lot of questions about engineering and how this will be designed, but a lot of that will be flushed out during the next phase of this project. And again, I've spoken to a number of the abutters on Joy Lane and explain what the project is. And I don't believe there's any formal objection to this. So that's all I have. Dan DeCessor is from Casali Engineering. They were responsible for this plan. He's available if anybody has any questions as to the specifics of the plan, but it's a fairly straightforward petition just to abandon this section of Joy Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. All right, why don't we go around, get some council comment quickly, then we'll go to the public. Susan, any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions on the abandonment of the road. I had some questions on the further, like of how many spots will the church gain, and will there be a buffer for the residents so that they don't have to stare at the parking lot? So I don't know if that's for you, Matt, or for the next phase of the project, but I support the petition.
I'm happy to comment generally. We originally submitted a plan to the planning department, and this abandonment issue came up. So we never fully developed what that proposal was going to be. I do anticipate screening along Carroll Lane and along the perimeter where this parking will be. I don't have an exact number for the amount of spaces, but it's fairly significant. That's actually quite a bit of land that's wooded right now. I don't have that number. That will again be more fleshed out at the next phase. But I would say it's probably 80 to 100 spots. I'm not sure if Dan can comment on that. I know there was a preliminary plan that they had come up with, but that's sort of an estimate right now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just concerned, I just wanted to make sure that those residents that reached out to you and the list that we have, that they have some assurance that, their lives aren't changing and they'll be buffered with some trees or bushes so that they can't see, 100 cars parked, so clearly to where they reside. That's all.
Yeah, no, certainly. I would certainly anticipate some type of buffering, vegetative buffer along the perimeter. I don't think the plan is to clear all that. But certainly we've worked with the neighbors on this petition, and we would certainly continue to do so. And that's the parish's desire going forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Susan. Eva, any comments or questions?
I don't have any, thank you.
Okay. Deb?
I was just curious, and maybe again, it's too early, like Susan said, but the egress for people, if there's a new parking lot, is there going to be a different approach to entrances and exits?
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So there's already an existing driveway sort of in the middle of your map there. You see a paved section. So that's the existing driveway. That's going to remain. Father Tyone's desire is to have a second means of ingress and egress, of course, with permission of the town. So that's a big reason why we want to abandon this portion. So certainly the intent is to put a driveway where that abandonment portion is. So you can almost put a driveway right where you see the proposed abandonment to be. And that's going to relieve a lot of stress out of the parking lot and the congestion. At least that's the proposal here, and I think that will relieve a lot of the congestion there.
And then people would just drive straight out on Joy Lane there.
That's correct, and they have both driveways there, and again, a lot of this might be flushed out during the next phase in terms of traffic and circulation and what the fire department deems safe and adequate ingress and egress. But The idea is to put a second means of egress there, right onto Joy Lane to sort of divvy up the traffic and off of Boston Neck Road.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilor Murray.
Okay, I had a question for Mark Davis, actually. Still with us, Mark? Okay, hello. If we can't sell property, how can we abandon property?
I don't believe, Patrick, that this last initiative that was passed impairs the town council's ability to abandon property in this regard at all.
Well, if we can't sell property, it seems to me it would be a bigger crime to abandon a property. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know.
Yeah, I don't see that initiative impacting this process.
Okay, now, do you know what the position of the fire district, Bonnet Shores Fire District, are they for this, against this? I've gotten some phone calls. I've gotten some people who are for it, they're against it. Does the fire district have an official?
We do have Steve Marsala on the line. As you know, he's assistant solicitor to planning and zoning and lives in Bonnet Shores. So if Steve wants to jump in and opine on that, that'd be helpful.
I'm happy to provide some comment on that too, Mr. Murray, but if Mr. Marcelo wants to speak first, I'm happy to. That issue came up during the planning board. I'm not sure if you want me to address it now or if Mr. Marcelo wants to address it.
Well, here comes Steve.
Yes, sorry guys, they just let me in. Yeah, so Matt and I and Mike DeLuca, we had discussed this in great length regarding the interest of the fire district. I took the position, and Matt can certainly expand on this, is the fire, the town is just abandoning whatever rights that we may or may not have into that 3,500 square foot parcel. Matt had done an extensive title search on the property, and it was his opinion and the opinion of the title company that this portion of the property basically did not vest with the fire district. However, looking at it purely from a town standpoint, it was my opinion that we're simply abandoning and we're only being requested to abandon whatever rights that we have in the property, and that's what is before the town council today. Whether some people in the fire district believe that the fire district may or may not have some type of rights in the property is up to their legal counsel should they wish to. I believe certainly the president of the fire district didn't believe that, and we haven't heard from any legal counsel. So it was just my opinion that tonight as solicitor for the town, basically we're only abandoning whatever rights the town may or may not have in that parcel. And Matt, I don't know if you want to chime in on that, if you can expand.
Sure, thanks, Steve. So during the planning board process and the advisory opinion, that issue came up, and I sent correspondence to the Bonnet Shores Fire District, both because they were entitled to notice and I wanted to flush out that issue. I spoke to the chairman, Mr. Farley, at length about this, and there was no official position by the fire district. Again, I don't want to speak for them, but that was my discussion, and they never opposed the petition formally to the board. So they were well aware of this and received notice of it, and it was at least his position that they had no objection to it because it was on private property. And the result of the title work that I did on this and during the 2017 litigation that I'm sure this council's aware of, that issue of road ownership came up. And again, I agree with Mr. Marcel. I mean, we're not arguing over ownership rights and access to existing roadways. This road doesn't even exist. It only exists on paper. And the title history is pretty explicit about reserving this portion of the roadway in title to all the predecessors in title even prior to the parish. And that's a bit unique. The rest of the roadways went on plats and deeded out in different ways. this was one section of the roadway. It's actually in explicitly on the parish's deed itself that said conveyed but not abandoned, and title is reserved. And there's a lot of that language consistent throughout the decades. So it's pretty clear that title has remained in the parish and was never conveyed and didn't appear to be part of the enabling legislation for the charter, the Bonnet Shores Fire District Charter. So based on my discussions with them, the correspondence I sent them, and no official position by the fire district, we don't feel there's any major issue there.
Okay. See, the problem is we there was a building that we rezoned over there, and that turned into a 3-year lawsuit just for a rezone. So.
And Mr. Councilman Murray, I don't disagree with you, and I brought that up to Attorney Landry when this first all started, and he, in my opinion, he provided the documentation. It was the documentation necessary where I formed my opinion that this little strip was actually reserved in the deeds and never conveyed over in any of the plots. It throughout the entire chain of title.
Right.
This little square was never deeded over. So it was my opinion. Obviously, the other roads are different, but this little strip was different than any of the other roads in Bonnet.
Okay. All right. I get what you're trying to do here. I just got a bunch of calls on this, and believe me, I'm conflicted because this is my church too. So I mean, I'm probably gonna burn for this one. But is there any way of heading east and avoiding the abandoning of that? Because all right, let me rephrase that. I think if they punch a road through there on that old abandoned easement or abandoned right of way, I think there's going to be some heartburn from the neighbor. So Steve, if this goes back to planning and that's the plan they want to use, and enough neighbors complain, that's going to have to go through a process, correct?
Exactly. This is just the first step of the process. The
Right.
whole,
Right.
The layout, the wetlands, the site circulation,
Right.
all that, I haven't even seen yet, nor has it been presented to the town. So all that will go through the normal vetting process that we have through planning and all that.
And the other issue that comes up that college kids park over there at night, and it turns into a parking lot for off-campus behavior issues that are in that neighborhood. I'm sure the same thing with Nardillo Funeral Home up there. It's the same situation. So, so if you expand parking, then there may or may not be more activity. But okay, all right. I guess and again, Steve, we can abandon, but we can't sell, right?
And as it
In
stands,
theory.
I agree with Mr. Davis in theory.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we don't get another lawsuit from Bonnet Shores, for God's sake. All right, thank you.
Again, as me and Mr. Landry and Mr. DeLuca kind of spoke in depth, if Bonnet Shores thinks that they have some type of claim or anything to this parcel, then that they have the legal right to assert that, but they haven't yet.
Okay.
And I agree with what's been presented to the town, that from what I can see, they don't have it, but certainly that they have the right to do it, but it doesn't affect your decision tonight.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Let's see. Yeah, the selling versus abandoning aspect of it, that is something that we looked at last week. I took some time with Terry Donovan to take a look at the wording on that ballot question. And it is specific just to sell. So it doesn't say trade or anything convey.
Lease? Is there a lease in there? I thought the lease was in it. Not even lease?
we could lease. It's just very specific. The only
Right.
word is sell.
Right.
So I think that's pretty clear. And actually, I was looking at it from the opposite direction. And my question was, is it normal in these situations for the town to not just abandon property, but if we were going to do that, would we sell it instead, or at least ask for some money? And we couldn't do that even if we wanted to because of that ballot question. Plus, I think it's not really a standard practice anyway.
Correct. Just to chime in on that, there are other towns, like for instance, Cranston, but we would have to do an ordinance that would require in other towns, they have an ordinance which basically requires if a town abandons some property that that property gets appraised by an impartial appraiser, and then that property is then sold for whatever, the person who gets the abandoned property has to pay the town that X amount of dollars. But that's all done by ordinance. Jesse, it's not constitutional or anything. So if in the future the town ever wanted to explore that, it certainly could. But as of right now, because we don't have that ordinance in place, it's merely an abandonment for, basically for no funds.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. But, other than that question, I guess the only other thing I'll say is just to be clear with the public on this, that the decision on this tonight is not an endorsement by the council or an approval by the council on anything that happens in the future. Because there are a lot of questions about punching that, like you said, Patrick, punching that driveway through the parking lot and the effect that would have on that neighborhood, and the speed of traffic and that sort of thing. So that's more of a development for another day.
Correct.
But why don't we go ahead and go to the public? I see at least one hand up. So Dan, who do we have?
First is Catherine Soliberto.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court.
Catherine, would you please spell your last name for the stenographer, please?
Celeberto.
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the
Yes.
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, I've written to the town council about this matter, but to summarize, there's an error in Mr. Landry's first paragraph of his letter. He mentions that the land absolutely wasn't when to convey at the time, and this is the issue here. We're talking about 4,440 square feet of town-owned land that St. Thomas wants us to give them in payment. Now, I'm not suggesting that we have a referendum, God, that'll cost us more than we get for this land. But I don't think the town should be giving anyone, especially a religious entity, town-owned land, some type of compensation. I mean, there's many different ways we can work it out, but to just deed this land, and this is what we're talking about, deeding it over.
Well,
Catherine, I think we lost you.
I think we lost her.
like the big guy took care of her.
Jeez. Why don't we bring her back over? It looks like she's back.
He's back.
Gee, I don't know how I got lost, but anyway, bottom line is this: the church wants us to give them 4,048 square feet of land absent payment. And I really don't, I've objected to these type of things in the past where we just deed over land to people. So it's not just this particular instance, but we just can't do it. They need this land, they want this land, and obviously has some value to them because they're going to expand their parking lot. And I just believe that the town should receive some compensation. Giving land to people absent payment, town-owned land, especially to a religious entity, to me is just fraught with problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. It looks like that's it for public comment. Oh, we do have, it looks like we have another hand up.
Dr. Alba.
Yes, hi, thank you. Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island, 02882. I think the proposal's great, and I don't have any problem. I want to show that
Mr.
I'm.
Alba needs to be sworn in.
Yes, swear me in, please.
You stated your name for the record, Albert. Would you spell your last name, please?
Yes, ALBA.
Do you, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't see an issue with this going forward. In fact, in real estate, they have actually adverse possession. That means if you have acquired or been using a piece of land for X amount of years and no one has any issues with that, then based on realty law, you can actually claim that land after a certain period of time. I hope and pray, it is my church too. I have to give full disclosure in this, but that there won't be any issue with this situation. I do feel, though, for us to be on the safe side, that we approach possibly abutting properties in that area, or maybe the people who are in the Bonnet Shores Beach Club, Bonnet Shores area, whoever the president might be. For years, I was the president of Riverfront, and just have them maybe sign off saying that, down the road, 3, 4, 5, 8 years down the road, they're not going to put up a legal challenge after this building, or we've been using it for X amount of years. So I think we want to protect everyone's interest, the town's interest, and especially, it is a very litigious society, and some people might try to. We want to have full disclosure, but hopefully, like I said, there should not be an issue. And like, if we have been using this land for X amount of years and no one's complained about it, and it's been used as a sanded lot area, hopefully going forward, we will be able to take over those areas of small parcels of land. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thanks, Mr. Alba.
Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, so we're gonna close down the public comment on this public hearing. One question, we'll go around the council again. One question, I guess I'll pose it to Steve. Ms. Celeberto said that this is town property and that we would be giving away legitimate town property. I'm not, that well versed with some of the technicalities on real estate. So with it being a town, with it being a paper road that was not conveyed originally, is it really town property? Could the town have done anything with that property?
I would, and Matt, you can certainly, Jen, I would characterize it as, because it was platted, the town has an interest in the property, not in the fee, not in the ground underneath it, but it certainly did have an interest in the property as a kind of a throughway, almost an easement interest over that property.
Control over
So
it.
it's not, and that's why in the deed, in the chain of title, in the deeds, this parcel was always kind of reserved. However, because it was platted, the town certainly has I would call it more of a right of way, rite of passage over and through the property. And that's essentially what we're abandoning today, as opposed to different types of roads that are deeded to the town. And in that point, that's certainly a different legal principle, where we would be abandoning more of the legal interest. But in this case, since this little square was not ever deeded over to the town, it's my opinion that we're just really abandoning our easement rights, or our rights over and through the parcel.
Okay, all right, thanks for clarifying that. All right, well, why don't we go around, get last thoughts from the council? Susan?
I'm all set.
All right, Eva?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Deb?
I'm good, thank you.
Patrick?
And just one more question for Matt. Sorry. Is there no interest in moving to the east because of the National Grid easement? Is that one of the issues that came up?
Well, part of it is that there's already an access to the east there. There's one driveway. So if you have two driveways a little too close to each other, then it's going to inhibit the traffic issue. And there's already a natural point of access there because that portion where we're abandoning it actually already dips into the parish parking lot, and that's the end of
Right.
the end of the public portion. So it's a natural extension to go south in that area. We're not aware of any utilities that inhibit that. There's a manhole cover at the end of that road. And one of the notes by the planning board was that we, extensively review that and we provide any easements as necessary. As you get a little further east, that might complicate the utility issues because there's no manhole covers and it becomes a little bit more of an issue there.
Right. Well, isn't that the old Seaview Railroad easement to the east?
I don't recall. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. All set.
Okay. All right. And then I guess the last thing just to mention, when it comes to the planning board recommendation, it didn't come through as a unanimous vote to approve this from the planning board. It was a 4-0 vote. They might have had someone missing that night or an abstention. I'm not sure, but just something to bring up. Okay. So do we have a motion to receive the planning board's recommendation?
I'll make the motion to receive the planning board's recommendation. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopik, aye.
Patrick?
Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Next, we have a motion to close the public hearing. So if there's no desire to continue, then we'll go ahead and vote to close it. So is there a motion to close?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Second.
All right. Second by Patrick. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopik, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. And then we have the motion to approve or reject. So
I'll make the motion to approve the petitioners to abandon this road, Joy Lane.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Eva. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopik, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. All right, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you very much for your time.
Good
All
luck.
right.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
night. Okay, so next we have, and Steve and Mark, thanks for the help with that one. Next we have a motion to schedule a public hearing on an application from 901 Ocean Road Holdings LLC to amend Chapter 31 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Zoning, proposing a new section 2.2.3, Development Standard for Extended Stay Hotels, and amending Section 6.3, Prohibited Uses, Table Use Regulations.
I'll move the motion to schedule the public hearing.
All right, is there a second?
Just to schedule, right?
Right, yeah. Is there a second? Everyone's muted, so I don't know if anybody.
Second.
All right, second by Eva. All right, yeah, so this is just a schedule. It will have, so it's going to go to planning and then come back to us. And the date we have in the on the agenda suggested is June 7th. However, that would be really like the soonest. That would be pretty tight because it's middle of April already. It has to go to planning. They have to get it scheduled and then send it back to us. So we could do the 7th, or I would actually recommend the 21st of June. So that would be the third Monday, just to give it a little bit more time. But we could do either date. So, but I'm going to say, is there a motion to schedule this on the 21st?
Yes, I'll make that motion to schedule the public hearing June 21st.
I'll
All right.
second.
All right, looks like we have a hand up for this. Dan, who do we have?
We have Steve.
Thank you, council members. Steve Ferrandi, 44 Silver Road. I would recommend that you table this at this point because a lot of the information that you have right now, I mean, you're gonna add a whole new section that possibly add, you know, we're looking at maybe some of these places extended hotel turning into a mini dormitories. We have enough in the neighborhood at this point.
Steve, excuse me, Jesse, I think even though this is scheduling, I really think the comment should be limited to scheduling, but to the extent we're going to go beyond scheduling, we're going to need to swear people in.
Right, well, we're in a public, oh, we don't have to because it's just scheduling, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that if you're going to allow comments on it.
Right, yeah, Steve, this is.
you know,
That's fine. I can limit
Yeah.
my comments. I just, well, first of all, there's not enough information and if you would reconsider to not schedule it, fine. I don't really think it's needed in the town. That would be. But if you have to schedule, fine. I would like to see more information at that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Steve. Thanks, Mark. Also, we have to move forward with sending this to planning, right? Like, are there timelines to these applications?
Yes, there are.
Okay. So it's just kind of part of the process, whether we agree with, you know, the application or not eventually. So.
A point of clarification, please. Just with regard to the quoted section, with regard to the development standard, that number is subject to change because the council will be addressing the proposed changes to the bulk zoning ordinance changes, which may use some numbering there that will precede any hearing that will take place on this application. So that section numbering that's quoted in this motion is subject to change.
Okay.
That's
Got
all.
it. All right, yeah, that makes sense. All right, do we have a motion? Oh, so we have the motion.
We did, yeah, we did. We had a second too.
Okay, great. So all in favor, starting with
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick,
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse View, aye. Motion approved 5-0 to schedule for June 21st. And then we have a motion to refer the application to the planning board for review and recommendation.
I'll move the motion to recommend it go to the planning board.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, looks like we have a hand up. Dan, can you move them over?
It's Sunny.
Hi, Sunny. So this is a motion to refer the application to the planning board for review and recommendation. So if you want to speak on that. All right, Sunny, I'm gonna give a couple more seconds. All right, looks like she's off. All right, so all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
and Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. All right, so that concludes the public hearing portion of the meeting. Next, we have open forum public comment. So anyone who'd like to speak on any items not on the agenda tonight, please keep your comments to 3 minutes. And we will go ahead and start. Dan?
First is Portsmouth Preservation Coalition.
Hi, please state your full name and address.
Oh, you know what? This is Nancy DiNuccio. It's pulling up a work Zoom name. I just wanted to say thank you to the town and especially Park and Recreation for the fireworks on Saturday night. I thought they were fabulous. It was a great night. I had a bunch of grandkids there running around on the near the gazebo, and it was just a great night. And I thought it was a nice way to kick off the spring, summer season, or whatever we were kicking off. But it was a lot of fun to be out there, and they were great. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Nancy. Maybe the start of a new tradition in Narragansett. We'll see. Dan, who do we have next?
Next is Dr. Alba.
Hi, Al. Please state your full name and address.
Yes, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island, 02882. I want to congratulate the town also for the fireworks display. On the Odd Town Narragansett page, literally hundreds and hundreds of people couldn't stop thanking the town for the wonderful time they had. So maybe, as Jesse said, maybe it'll start a new tradition. Maybe beginning of the season, maybe July 4th, maybe the end of the season, something like that. But the town loved it. I'm also wondering if down the road, I know things are starting to open up, but I was wondering if maybe we might be able to have Zoom meetings continued as an option for people, because a lot of elderly and people who might be getting out of work a little bit later and they can't make the town meeting. I just think it'd be a consideration that if we, even when our doors open up for in-person attendance, if maybe we could continue to have Zoom as an option for residents to be able to participate in these meetings. Thank you.
Al. Dan, who's up next?
Next is Sunny again.
All right, Sunny, please state your full name and address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Looks like you are muted right now. Can you want to try speaking?
Oh, hello?
Yeah, we can. Hi, Sunny, we can hear you now. You want to try again, Sunny? All right.
Me?
Hey.
Hello?
Hey, Sunny.
Hello?
Yeah, we're here. All right, Sunny. We're gonna move on, but
Hello? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you,
Can you
Sunny.
hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I have an excessive force case pending against Sergeant Favreau and rookie Matthew Sutton. Now, Captain Sutton, as you know, I told you at the last meeting, this case has been in litigation since the 90s. Okay, since the 90s, and I want to know, who's paying for this? Who's paying for the litigation? You know the story. I had reported a mold problem at the apartment complex where I left.
Excuse
where I
me,
live.
Jesse, this is absolutely not appropriate for public comment. It's a litigation matter. The speaker is speaking about a specific employees. It's just not appropriate, and it's ongoing litigation. So this is not something that should be allowed at public comment, in my opinion.
All right, Sunny, if you want to speak on anything else, go ahead. But any court case issues, you'll have to just email the town manager on that. All right, well, I guess we'll move on then. All right, so looks like that's it for public comment. Consent agenda. Are there any items that any council members would like to move or remove from consent?
Yes, like to remove number 2.
Okay.
Oh, good. I'm glad you
Me
said that. I
too.
wanted to comment on that. It's so
Yeah, me
great.
too.
All right. So we'll remove number 2. So is there a motion to approve number 1, 3, and 4 on consent?
I'll move that motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Second.
All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Trzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
And Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 2 is a motion to approve the purchase of 1 drone with smart controller for the police department from Cloud City Drones LLC in the amount of $7,287.
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, comment, Susan?
I mean, I actually think it's a great idea. I just was going to pull it to recognize having the drone. So I'll defer to my colleagues to speak on it. But I was just going to comment. I thought it was a very cool tool to have.
All right, and we do have the chief on. So Chief, do you want to say anything about this new product?
Yes, I think it's an excellent product for us. We're going to use federal forfeiture funds to purchase it. And it has many applications, search and rescue being the first that come to mind. But we also can use it for our crash reconstruction unit and use it for special event security. It's really a professional drone. It's got 4K resolution, thermal imaging. It's really an excellent product.
This is the first one. The force doesn't have any drones right now.
We don't. This will be our first.
All right.
How do we train someone to use them?
Yeah, they have to go to they have to get a special certification. So we'll be sending some people to Roger Williams University to get certified on that, and then we'll have a drone policy to strictly control its usage.
So there'll be, because there are potential issues about privacy, et cetera. So that's part of the training.
Absolutely, and it'll be part of the policy, and that's why I included it in the council communication here. Is I knew that would be a concern, so it will be strictly regulated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Patrick, do you have anything?
Yes, I'm against this idea. And as a libertarian, I don't like any government entity flying a drone, whatever the purpose is. I just think it's an encroachment on civil liberties, and I will not support this. Thank you.
If I could just clarify, this is not for routine usage. This would be like if we had a senior citizen with Alzheimer's who had wandered off, going to a wooded area, was on the shoreline. We would use the thermal imaging capability to try and locate that person. If we had a fatal motor vehicle accident and we need to do accident reconstruction, we would bring the drone out for that. It's not for routine use. That's going to be a drone up there every day watching.
Well, you
people.
mentioned crowd, locating people in crowds, and
well, for overall security, so it will be part of a security plan.
Right.
So that would be closely managed by myself as well as the town manager. So it's not up there to watch individuals. It's going to be there.
I trust you exclusively and the town manager, but I think this is opening up issues of privacy, and I can't justify it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. All right, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
I just want to say that I recognize what Patrick is saying, and I have some concerns as well, but I think, there are some really good uses for this. We'll have to see what happens. So aye.
Patrick?
No.
All right, Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1. Okay, number 5 under Police Department is a motion to receive and accept a grant from the Rhode Island Justice Commission in the amount of $14,290 and approve the expenditure of funds. No matching funds are required.
I'll move the motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second, I'll second that.
All right, any comments, Susan?
No, very good.
Eva?
No comments.
Deb?
I love when we don't have to come up with matching funds. Thank you.
Patrick?
5 and 6, 5 and 6, I'm good with. Okay.
Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Moria.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 6 is a motion to approve the purchase of 3 Shield 12-speed displays with solar panels for the police department from All Traffic Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $12,445.50. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Drushinsky, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye, and good use of solar panels.
Patrick?
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. For Parks and Rec, number 7 is a motion to approve and award the expenditure of $14,500 to the Dunes Club, which represents 50% of the total fee for the 2021 fireworks display from the Beach Enterprise Fund. The Dunes Club has agreed to produce the 2021 fireworks from a barge subject to state and local regulations between the town beach and the Dunes Club on Sunday, July 4th, with the rain date of July 5th. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
All right, do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Eva. Any comments?
No, I just, I have loved the partnership between the Dunes Club and the town. It's just been an incredible partnership to enjoy the fireworks. So I'm glad that's continuing.
Great.
So I have a rookie question. And the rookie question is, so it says that this represents 50% of the total fee. So what happens with the other 50%? Well, how does that work?
The Dunes Club.
The total
Oh, I
expense,
see.
the total expense is $28,000.
Mhm.
And most of that, a lot of that is the barge, because unlike
Right.
a Saturday night show, which is a $4,000 show, which in my opinion was a fabulous show for
It was.
because it's in the middle of the summer and we have to hire, or the Dunes Club in this case is hiring a barge that comes out of either New Bedford or Fall River. It leaves at 7 o'clock, actually 6 o'clock in the morning. That expense, along with it's a longer show on 4th of July, is a $28,000 show.
Gotcha. Well, I remember the barge story, so that's good. And I wanted to commend you on the Saturday night show as well. It was a great finale. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Drushinsky, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
And Patrick?
Patrick Moria. Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 8 from Human Resources is a motion to approve a revision to the job description for the Assistant Building Inspector to reflect current position duties, requirements, and responsibilities. We have a
I'll move the
motion.
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Drushinsky, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
And Patrick?
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 9, a motion to approve the filling of 1 vacancy, Assistant Building Inspector, due to retirement. Is there a
I'll
motion?
move the motion.
All right,
Susan
is there a
Cicilline Bonanno.
Second.
Second by Eva. Any questions or comments from the council? All in favor? Start with you, Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Drushinsky, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Moria. Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 10 from Engineering, a motion to refer the request from Matthew F. Callahan Jr. on behalf of Clark LLC, Plat 5, Lot 27, Clark Road, for waiver of the sewer policy to the Sewer Policy Committee for review. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Eva. So this is back on. We had this 2 weeks ago. Some council members were just looking for some more information, and we had a few weeks to do that. So do any members still have any questions or concerns before going ahead with this? And we have John on as well as Mike with if you have any questions. Susan.
So I'm going to ask Patrick and Eva because they're serving on the subcommittee, and I know in the past I've done that on the sewer committee. Usually they wrestle with it and then it comes to the full council. It seems like this one we did just the opposite, and I was just wondering why that was.
I have no idea. It just came up, you know. That might be a question for Callahan. I mean, I wasn't, at least to the best of my
From
knowledge,
your
I wasn't
experience-
notified.
Right, but it has been past practice that the sewer policy committee meets and then it goes to the full council. I mean, you and I have done that over the years, so it just seemed
Correct.
different this way.
Yeah, it went from staff to council.
Right.
Should have gone staff, sewer board, then council, so.
But it will come back to the council for a final decision, I believe, right? Yeah.
Better.
So it's still, you know, ends with the same kind of final result there.
Yeah, the only concern is we had a full-blown discussion to that point about the project, you know what I mean? So I don't know what that means ultimately, but we publicly did that. And so it just seemed to go a different way for whatever reason, that particular project. And
Maybe
that was-
Callahan, or I don't know, maybe John can pipe in and, you know, see what the process was. Maybe not.
Can we find out for sure if it comes back to us again?
Well, Callahan,
Is he here?
Well, I spoke with the planning board chair today. He said it comes back. Mike just said it comes back.
Okay.
Yeah, correct, Jesse. It would ultimately goes to a committee and then the full council has the ultimate decision on approval on it.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, when you read all this, it appears that there was just, you know, authorization for one, it sounds like one house being built. Patrick, you probably know more about how this works than I do, but, and this is, you know, it looks like a pretty delicate location in terms of the environment. So that's, I mean, it's of great concern. So I want to be sure that it comes back to us.
Yeah, correct, Deb. So the one house was kind of automatically approved because it was one lot.
Right.
So that, and really ultimately the ultimate issue will be the other 4 lots. Whether, you know, you decide to allow them to be hooked up to sewers or whether they have to go the, you know, ISDS route and get approvals that way.
Which they probably wouldn't, right? You don't know, you can't
There's
say. That's
enough
okay.
land there, Mike. I'm assuming that, you know, they would be able to get approvals, but because the parcels are pretty large, but I'll leave that for the applicant later on. So.
Okay.
So just to kind of wrap it up, so 3 homes were approved to be built in that subdivision by planning. Then went to zoning. And they approved 2 more.
No,
make it
Mike
5.
says no.
No? Okay.
May I, Mr. President?
Sure.
The original plan was for a 5-lot subdivision. As Mr. Marcella mentions, every lot that has frontage on a road has the right to a single permit. So they're asking for 4 additional permits. The property has been through the planning board for master plan approval, at which they are vested for the 5-lot development. They've gone through, and it is noted that there's significant wetland on site. So they had to go to the zoning board to get relief from the coastal and freshwater wetland overlay, not for the individual houses, but for the ability to build the roadway through a very narrow opening between 2 wetlands. So, and I should say each of the lots had to have some relief granted, but each lot will come back to the zoning board when they come in with construction drawings. So both the planning master plan and the zoning relief have already been approved. I could put up the map if you wanted. I know Ms.
I can
Kopek
see
had
it.
asked for that before.
I
If you'd
can
like-
see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
we got,
thanks, Mike.
we got Callahan here. When we talk with him, he's the genesis of this agenda item. It seems.
This is James Callahan. Is that the same one?
Right.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, James is Matt's son, and they work together.
Sonny wants to chime in too.
James, it's not a public hearing. Oh, it is Matt.
As Matt. There we go.
Hey, Matt, can you state your full name and address, just because it's not a public hearing? You're on mute right now.
It's James. Who got that now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, this is Matt Callahan. I'm an attorney. I live in Narragansett and have an office in Wickford. I represent the applicant Clark LLC. The reason I filed the letter with the town council is because the letter from the engineering department dated February 10, 2021, in which the engineering department said that they could not approve the application. In the last paragraph of the letter states, "You may appeal provisions of the sewer policy to the town council in writing." And so it's been my practice in the past in these situations to follow that instruction from the engineering department to write a letter to the town council seeking the additional sewer permits. And my experience has always been that the town council automatically then refers it to the sewer policy committee for a recommendation, and then it goes back to the town council for formal action. That's the process which I've always followed in the past, and that's why it ended up before the council 2 weeks ago. And I think that's been the way that it's always been handled, but perhaps things have changed in recent years, but that's been my experience as to how one appeals the decision from the engineering department.
Yeah, he's
Thanks,
right.
Mr. Callahan. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Callahan while he's on? Okay. All right. So why don't we go ahead and take the vote? So this is a motion to refer to the sewer policy committee. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. All right. Thanks again, Mr. Callahan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan.
Number 11 from the town council is a motion to reconsider and discuss appointments, reappointments to the Harbor Management Commission. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Deb's got it. All right. Motion by Susan, seconded by Deb. So this is an item placed by Susan and I. Susan, do you want to kick it off?
No, I think it says it in the summary. I mean, we moved up a motion to appoint some people to the Harbor Commission, and when we moved it, we added one person, but we neglected the reappointments. So Javi Cataldo, John Thompson, Joe Hart, and Jeff Barry were on that sheet for those reappointments. So I don't know if we were going to discuss if we agreed for the reappointments for those people, but we eliminated that piece.
All right, so you and I talked afterwards, and we both kind of felt the same way, Susan, where I don't know if it was because it was moved up or because we had so many appointments that night, but I'll just be honest. I was a little bit confused as we were doing the appointments on who was still available to be reappointed versus who had termed out. And I wasn't comfortable myself with the outcome. I'm not saying that this needs to change. I'm just saying that I would like a chance to discuss and see if there are any corrections that we should make. So that's why it's up here.
Yeah, so I just had those 4 written down on my piece of paper. I wasn't sure. We didn't reappoint all those. So I mean, that was why I had them written down. I don't know if anybody else on the council has anything to add about what happened.
And we have this as 2 motions. So the first one is just this motion to open the discussion. And the
Sorry.
Right.
The second one is to actually make changes if we want to go ahead.
All right, so let's vote on for having the discussion then. Right. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Well, do we have any comments before we do that vote?
Oh.
Yeah, so I was a little surprised to see this on the agenda. Obviously, I really didn't know it was coming until, when I get the agenda packet. So I actually reviewed all the applicants and I actually was the one that moved it up. And I know that we had actually made changes to, having term limits. So that's why, there were individuals on here that were looking for reappointment that had served. And I actually asked for, somebody who I had asked to apply for this commission, who was a really great candidate. And that was my input for appointments. And then I actually talked to another neighbor who is on, he's an alternate, and he had stated that, once you're an alternate, you move up to be a member. So that was why I made those recommendations, and I left it open for other council members to give their input for, other appointments or reappointments, because, I didn't want to be the only one speaking to the Harbor Commission. So I did see that Harvey had been on 8 terms, and that is why I didn't really look or think anything of it. I know he's done a great job, and I know he's been great on the commission, but there were a lot of individuals that were interested in serving on the commission, and we had enough people to fill that. The other person that I did see, John Thompson, he did look for a reappointment, I believe, and it was like one member term and an alternate, so potentially he could have. And I know his name was mentioned, but nobody really expanded on it. So those were like, this is my sheet with everyone and my applicants that I had reviewed. So those are the recommendations I made. So I don't know why we would, have a discussion if we had made those, we had appointed individuals who were interested in serving on this commission.
Okay.
I just thought we missed the reappointments ever. I didn't really have a
That's
list.
what I thought too.
I thought we missed the reappointments, but if that's not how you see it, that's fine.
Yeah, so again, for me, it feels like, I feel like I made a mistake. I would have made a motion to appoint John Thompson if I wasn't, I guess, just mixed up or confused where I was at. I can admit, I think it was a mistake, but I think it should be fixed. At least that's my opinion, but during the next motion, we'll see if that happens. So I don't have anything against anyone who was appointed. I just want to make sure that we don't undercut and dismiss someone who's done a good job by accident. If we think they shouldn't move forward, that's fine. I just feel like it was an accident, so.
Right. I think we were more concerned about, fulfilling the 2012 wishes where we have to have a deadline, end game for these appointments, that it's not it's not a Supreme Court judgeship here. It's a committee and they can't exist in perpetuity. So I think we're more concerned with that than who was qualified, who wasn't qualified, who should stay on, who shouldn't stay on. I think that's what happened. So.
Yeah, and to that 2012, there was a time in Narragansett where everybody was absolutely term limits to the end. And I think over the last 5 to 6 years, I've heard people say, why would you let an experienced person go off a board if, they were doing a good job? And I've talked to the clerk about this over and over again, and I've gone both ways on it. I mean, we want other people to serve, but we also have people that are added value that contribute. And do we want to, sort of say, well, they were all done. So, I mean, I've gone back and forth, full circle on my feelings around the board and commissions. But this particular one, I just thought they were all reappointments. Harvey was on for 8 years, but I know the work.
8 terms. It's since 1997.
Yeah.
So since
Yeah.
1997.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I know, and I think we should be accountable for the rules that we set forth, and we did. I mean, previously, before we discussed having term limits, it was fine if we reappointed somebody that had been on for a while. And I think now going forward, since we did have that discussion, we should implement that, unless, of course, if there's not interest out there for a certain board or commission. But I think like I had said before, it's asking people or recruiting people or just saying, hey, would you be interested in serving? And there's a lot of people in our community that I think would be great on a lot of these commissions and boards. And I've actually reached out to a lot of them. And that's exactly why I put, Rick Black, and I had actually asked for him to be put on this commission because I think a lot of you know him, and he's great. He'd be a great asset to the commission. He has got a lot of experience and leadership qualities.
I think there's two issues here.
Yeah, we got a big echo for you.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know where that came from, but
Okay,
I think
I think
it's a new Godzilla movie.
well,
The
I got to make money somehow, Patrick. Anyway, I think there's two issues here, and I think the issue of somebody being on a board or commission for a very long time, I don't have a problem with term limits, and I think we solved the problem of making sure that we kept people with experience and institutional knowledge by setting the terms so that they don't all collide in the same year. By the same token, I think we made a mistake. And the mistake was that we didn't take into consideration. There was no public discussion about the folks who asked to be, to remain on the commission. So I think, I kind of agree with Eva that somebody who's been on for close to or more than 20 years, it might be time for a change. But I also think the second person, was it Thompson? Was it Mr.
Yeah,
Thompson?
it was Thompson.
Yeah, he had only been on relatively
one
briefly, as I
term, right?
recall. Yeah.
Right.
So and I frankly didn't, as much as I go through these things, I didn't.
I know you
notice that.
do.
I know it's my life's work, but but I missed that. So so I think we have to address that piece. And then we also have to finish this issue about whether we're going to have term limits or not, because
Right.
that's just got to be resolved, and we need to resolve it soon, because it does get in the way of having a clean sheet of paper to follow to get these done.
You should have a checkoff list for each appointment.
Yeah, that would be good too.
I mean, I go by, I actually go by
technically,
all the information that, the clerk's
I.
office put together, and it's great. So that's why I always use this sheet, and I
Yeah.
go by, and then you can also see if somebody's been on another commission. They put a lot of work into it. I think it's a great reference. I know sometimes we go late, we get tired, but I use this kind of as my bio. It's all like wrinkled and everything. But yeah, so that's kind of how I look at it. So it's like, it's all grouped together, and who wants to be appointed, if it's unknown, and if somebody's on there's another, kind of, some information about.
I do something. What am I doing? I do something similar. I don't know why.
Godzilla.
It's just one of my pets.
Get the net.
This motion is just to
This is to
discuss.
reconsider. This doesn't appoint anyone specifically, so that would be the next motion. So all in favor?
Hey, hang on a minute. Why don't we get a legal opinion from Mark Davis to, talk about the 2012 legal decision, where we stand today, and if
There's only one member. That's fine. There's one member though on the next motion that's termed out. That would be termed out. So just to.
So there was a vote in 2012 on the ballot regarding term limits. I think everyone's aware of it. The vote occurred, the term limits that were proposed were approved. The vote was certified by the Board of Canvassers. And then for some reason that was not codified. So not everyone apparently was aware of it, and appointments were made maybe contrary to those term limits because people weren't aware of what the law is or what the law was as passed. But having said that, once everyone became aware of it, Terry highlighted this back in 2020, maybe earlier. The law is the law. I mean, it went to the voters in 2012. It was approved. The vote was certified. And those are the term limits that are now part of the charter. So that's what you should be using to govern whether somebody has termed out or not.
And you'd say any terms that started after 2012, right? Start at that point?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
That's when the voters approved it, and that vote was certified by the state.
Fuck. Damn it.
Ooh.
Sorry. I don't know who said that, but
Yikes.
I think I'm going to turn Godzilla back on.
so that's something that we'll take into account as we vote on specific members. Right?
Yeah, I know we did miss one that could have potentially been on. I'm fine with that.
So for me, I'm still voting for this because we have other business to do on that committee besides the one Harvey seat. So again, for this motion, this is to reconsider the appointments. All in favor?
Susan
Oh,
Siciliani.
sorry, we do have a hand up.
Oh,
First is Catherine Soliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I just want to make one comment. Previous town councils were aware of the mandate vis-a-vis term limits because they set term limits for the planning board members and the zoning board members. They just failed to do it for the other boards and commissions also. That's the only comment I want to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 12 is motion to nullify all votes made pertaining to the Harbor Management Commission appointments on April 5th, 2021, and reappoint 5 individuals to the Harbor Management Commission, which was contingent on the last item, which was approved.
I'll move the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I'd like to
By Patrick.
appoint John Thompson for another term.
All right. So what we're going to do is, how many seats are we doing tonight? We have 5, right? So we could do each council member will get a chance to make an appointment. We'll start with you. So you have the nomination for John Thompson. Is that into the same seat he's in, right?
Yes. Yep.
All right.
We forgot that one. We forgot him.
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to nominate Rick Black, and I would like to nominate him into the 3-year term seat.
Into the one that's being vacated by Mel Corey.
By Harvey Cataldo.
All right. So, well, Susan did her nomination first, so we'll go ahead with that, and then you could do yours. So this is for the same seat, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on this one? All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. All right. Eva?
So I would like to nominate Rick Black.
So there is a seat, there's the Mel Corey seat or the Harvey Cataldo, and you want to do Harvey's right now? So that would put him off, right?
Yeah, because he's termed out. That's the only reason.
Okay. Deb,
is based on what Mark said, he'd be termed out. He's been in his position since before 2012. Although he's had reappointed terms. So does that mean that we have to follow the term limits for him or not? And I guess, Mark, we need you to answer that question because I'm not sure.
I believe you do.
Okay.
Because he served 2 terms since 2000.
Okay. I got it.
All right. Any other thoughts before we vote on this one? Susan or Patrick?
Oh, I'm good.
No, if he's termed out, he's termed out, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you, Harvey.
Yes, thank you for your service. What is that, 24 years? Something like that?
Yeah.
1997, yeah.
Thank you.
Basically, he could take a term off and get back on then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take 5.
All
Smoke
right.
them if you got them.
All in favor? Susan?
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Harvey. I know a lot of people respect you and you've done a lot. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm sure you'll be involved in some way with the commission. I know it's probably important to you. So Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick,
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. I just want to just make sure we stay on track with this one after what happened last time. So we do have 2 alternates. Typically, they could be moved up into a regular full-time seat. Right now, there's only 1 full-time seat left on there. And the feedback I've gotten has been, I mean, both of them are great, but I have been received some feedback that John Hart would be a fantastic member into that
Second.
full-time regular seat.
Is that a nomination?
Does anyone mind if I cut my spot and make that nomination? All right,
No.
so I'll nominate Joseph P. Hart Jr. into the regular seat position.
Second.
All in favor?
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Yeah, and I know John, he lives down the street from me, so he's a great guy. So Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. So now we have, do we want to move Jeffrey Barry? Oh, well, I guess it's an alternate seat either way, right? Right. So we need to reappoint, yes. So do we want to reappoint Jeffrey Barry?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you making that nomination?
I'll make it, yeah.
And I'll
nominate
second
that.
that. I'll second it.
All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. And then we have 1 fresh alternate position. Does anyone have a nomination? Deb or Patrick?
Could I nominate Megan Keefe?
I'll second that.
And where did Black go? Black's a regular member?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what do we have here?
We just have 1 alternate, and that was the one that Deb
Right.
had. She had
But we got Black, Thompson,
Thompson,
Hart, Barry.
Barry. Yeah.
Okay.
And now Megan Keefe is nominated.
And I second that.
Okay. I haven't. Yeah.
Did you have someone you wanted to do?
No.
I know you nominated someone last time, Patrick, but then I looked and that individual was interested in other appointments.
Yeah. Pulling the
It's
plug.
not, yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see her resume. Did you have any background on her, Deb?
I did at the time.
Sure.
Right.
I'm trying to remember. I might have it. Wait, hold on. I might have it here. Otherwise, I'll have to look it up. Oh, no, I do.
I have it too.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Yes, she is a full-time resident. You know what? I didn't print a resume. Did you print a resume, Eva?
No, I don't have it with me.
As I recall, it was.
Oh wait, I do.
And
It's in the back.
pertinent, right? Yeah.
It's in the back and that was why you had nominated her. She's a project manager at University of Rhode Island. She does project management services for construction. Let's see, Army engineer officer, captain, professional. She's so then she has project management skills. Education is Norwich University, Northfield, Vermont, Master of Public Administration, and Bachelor of Arts, American History.
But you had some experience.
Yeah,
too,
so
as
she's
well,
state of Rhode Island. Yeah, I remember you saying that. I'm just looking for it in here. Yeah, but she did have some facilities and operations management, Captain Corps engineer, U.S. Army.
Yeah.
So you both feel she has the experience to
Yes.
add to this committee.
Yes.
Yes.
That's good enough for me.
All right then.
All in favor, start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. number 13 is a motion to approve the establishment of the Narragansett Affordable Housing Collaborative Committee consisting of 7 members, including 1 member of the town council, the director of housing authority, and the director of community development. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
We have a second.
A second.
All right. So this is from Susan and I, although Susan has done the bulk of the work on this, so I'll let her speak.
Well, we shared that. So years ago, they used to have this component in Narragansett, and actually they have a affordable housing collaborative in South Kingston. I did have the pleasure of attending that meeting, and they're quite a bit ahead of Narragansett in their ideas and plans to help with this beast of trying to find affordable housing for families and just people that want to live in the community. And it was a great meeting that I went to. I shared the motion with Mike DeLuca, and I met with Mike McLaughlin and Cheryl. So I spent some time with them just talking about what this committee would be and how it would work. Certainly South Kingston being the lead in the work. They talked about in their committee how they had particular money to do some studies to see what they could do about making housing affordable, how to reach that 10%. So I think it's a great time to get some people together, to work with the community developer, to work with the director of the housing authority, to try to figure out some creative ways. And I don't know how you beat the market or how we solve this, but it certainly is a good plan to be thinking about how we can bring affordable housing to the town of Narragansett. And incoming projects, looking at ordinances, they had a multiple of ideas of ways that they incorporated it so that they could reach some additional affordable housing. We're quite a bit behind. We want to reach that 10%. And so I think having a committee working directly with the town staff on this issue is going to be something that I think would be added value for Narragansett. I hear so often, as you all do, they want their kids and other people to move to the town, families, young families, and it's just untouchable. So, we have to study it. We have to come up with some incentives and figure out a way to make it so it can work. And I don't know the answers. And so putting a group together that has far more experience in the housing industry and the market to see what we can do to help Narragansett. So I'm happy that Jesse's on it with me. I know that's something that you've talked about for a long time, about families being able to come and stay in Narragansett. So I hope that you'll support this motion and open to any added ideas you have on it.
I just had a quick question. So it's the Rhode Island, is it the Rhode Island Director of Housing Authority that's going to be on this, or is it?
No, the local, the Housing Authority in Narragansett.
Okay. Oh, okay. And then the local Director of
Yeah,
Community.
that's Mike DeLuca and then Mike
Okay,
McLaughlin.
sorry.
Yeah. So, and I did meet with them all, just because this is not a new conversation, but just trying to figure out how we can move forward with this. And certainly South Kingston, our neighbors are, I would say, about 10 years in front of us. So they are certainly a model that we could learn and grow from.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, so I appreciate you putting this back on. I know this is actually something that you had got approved at the end of your last term.
Yes.
That didn't move forward. So I know you put some more research into it this term, and definitely modeled it after South Kingstown and some other communities. The only concern I had a little while back was the possibility of getting in the way of the housing authority's work by having like 2 groups trying to do the same thing. I don't have that concern. I know you've spoken with them. They're enthusiastic about it. So that concern is gone for me. And we have a lot of committees, but we do a lot.
And they're all filling up now. They're all filling up.
Yeah.
There are very few opens left.
So I think this is a good idea. Great idea. Patrick or Deb, any thoughts?
I think this is a good idea also.
Yeah, this will, I can, as long as it doesn't get too out of control, start, I don't know. I got a couple ideas myself that are less intrusive, but I think DeLuca's term limit out, ain't he? Anyway, yeah, I'm okay with this.
We'll be using drones to do some surveys of the
Yeah,
area.
yeah, there we go with the drones. Yeah, yeah,
Uh-oh.
yeah, yep.
All right.
That fake
Great.
canopy over the Murray on the Rosa there.
Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Drzezinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick.
I'm approving this. It seems like it's good in concept. I just hope it doesn't get out of control. Thank you.
Jesse Q, aye. So that was an aye for you, right?
That's an aye.
Okay, Jesse Q, aye, motion approved 5-0. 14 is a motion to adopt a performance review evaluation system for the evaluation of the town solicitor. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
We have
I'll
a second.
second it.
Second by Deb, and this comes from Councilor Kopeck.
So a few months ago, Mark had actually asked for a performance evaluation. I have some history in the universe of human resources, so I decided to go out and see what I could find. And I talked to a few town councilors in other towns and asked them, if they did this or if they wanted to do that. They actually do evaluate their solicitors. And the other one thought it was a fabulous idea, so that was interesting. Then I went out looking for a instrument that we could use. I found one that I could use as a model, and I modified it for us to take a look at. I have not. That's all I've done so far. So this is what I found. It's pretty comprehensive. I think it could be used in this case. So here it is, folks.
Thank you. We'll start with you, Susan. Any questions or comments?
So Deb, I looked at it, I think it's great. And again, we now have an evaluation for the town manager for his job performance. And now this will add, and we'll have one for the solicitor, hopefully after tonight. And I think it's a really helpful tool for people to use when they're looking at evaluating some of these positions. So I think it was well done, and I appreciate the work on it.
Thank you.
Eva, any questions or comments?
Yeah, just a comment. So when I saw it on the agenda, I did look into it, and it was, pretty much standard evaluation for solicitors. So thank you, Deb.
Cool.
All right, Patrick.
Yeah, so who is using this document, this tool? It would be the town manager evaluating?
No. It's
right.
us.
Okay,
It's
well,
us.
I want to get a clarification here.
Yeah, well, the solicitor.
I'll be filling out this performance review at some point?
Yeah, well, that's something that we kind of have to talk about. I sat around and thought hard about how we don't want to do 5 different ones. I think we want to do one, so we may have to collaborate. This would technically fall under the aegis of personnel, so we probably would have to do this in executive session.
What do you mean 5 different ones? 5 different?
In other words, if you would do one, Susan would do one, I would do one, that, we don't want to do that. We just want to have one evaluation.
So
With all of our comments in it, we'd have to collaborate.
Deb,
We'll have to collaborate, Patrick.
But sometimes even with the town manager evaluation, everybody could do it, and then you share your information with each other. It might be less confusing than working
That's
off
fine
one
too.
doc,
Well, so that's what, there's 2 ways. That way is one. The other one is for us to get in a room and pull it together. So, whatever we decide is fine. I wasn't sure how to introduce that because it's difficult to do it either way.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready? Does the HR person pipe in at some point, or?
Doesn't have to. This, the solicitor is
at the pleasure of the council.
Yeah, serves at the pleasure of the council. So, this is we could certainly we could ask Susan to participate with us and to give us some guidance.
Right. Well, it's kind of her neighborhood there. Maybe she could look this over and maybe add something or take something away. I'm not quite sure, but
okay.
I think
That's why there's a big draft on it.
Yes.
So
yes.
Not fine.
Oh, I thought they were serving beer later. I thought that's what the draft was for. Okay. So,
I hate beer, just for the record.
Yeah, thank you for putting it together. It's kind of on track with what we had said, which was a May evaluation was what was voted on. The only question,
for starters, what about Davis? You think he might want to pipe in on this? I mean, he is the town solicitor.
I appreciate that. I think the form is great. I think, I don't know how you can fill that form out without actually getting department heads to fill that out. Because the majority of those performance items are items that I work with directly with the department heads and the town manager.
Right.
So as I said before, and I think everyone here knows, there isn't a week where I don't work with multiple department heads and the town manager. I work with somebody almost every day. So
We can certainly, I'm sorry,
that?
go ahead. I was just going to say,
Sorry,
we can certainly solicit comments. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That we
I
can include.
I think the review would be incomplete without actually hearing from the people that I work
Department heads.
most closely with. I mean, obviously, when you have a question, you'll call me, but I 5 time working for the council and 95% of my time working for department heads and the town manager.
No wonder I can't get you on the phone.
You get me on the phone Saturday.
I can always get you on the phone, I know.
All right, Dan, looks like we have a hand up.
We do. Catherine Ciliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Ciliberto, 48 Earls Court. First, a comment that's off subject, but a house just sold on Earls Court for $1.35 million. Okay, now to this matter. When we discussed this in the past, it was agreed that all 3 attorneys were going to be evaluated, the solicitor and both assistant solicitors. And I don't see that on this motion, that they will also be evaluated at the same time. So I'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Deb, well, okay, so my assumption was that the town solicitor and the assistant, well, Andy Berg, I'll just say, are basically a unit when it comes to the way the town deals with that at an HR level. So we pay Mark Davis, who then pays Andy Berg. So they're kind of dealt with as a duo. Stephen Marsala is separate. So did you have any intent with this review? Would we be reviewing Andy and Mark individually, Steve individually? Was there any intent behind that?
Well, I mean, we would definitely review Steve separately. You know, that would be different. That's an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about, about Andy and Mark. I mean, Andy works, he may be in the same, he may work with Mark, but the stuff he does is generally separate from Mark. So if I were just going to opine, I would say that we would evaluate him as well.
Okay.
Draft.
All right. Any other comments before we vote?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, oops, sorry. Yeah, I definitely agree that we definitely would need input from the staff or the department heads that deal on a regular basis with our town solicitor.
That's a pretty typical thing to do with an evaluation anyways, that you would, you would do that. So that's, I didn't specifically state that, but I would definitely do that.
Right. Okay. All in favor, starting with Susan?
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Juczynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
George Ford, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 15 is a motion to direct the town solicitor to file a request with the Rhode Island Attorney General for investigation into the breach of material terms of the lease for Galilee / Lighthouse Inn property by PRIX LLC and the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management's failure to enforce material terms of the lease, which resulted in the dilapidation of the property. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Second.
Seconded by Patrick. All right, this comes from Councilor Jasinski.
Yep. So I filed this motion because I think the town of Narragansett deserves an explanation of how and why the Lighthouse Inn has become an eyesore and why the terms of the lease were not enforced. So the lease contains very specific material terms that have been completely disregarded with absolutely no consequences. So maybe there's something fishy going on. We deserve an explanation. So the council unanimously voted on a resolution opposing the last development, which was mostly surface parking lot proposed for this property. So we still wait for a response from the developer and state government. So we should not be forced to accept a development proposal that is not consistent with the comprehensive master plan for Galilee. Time is of the essence on a renewal option, and I want to see a remedy for the default on these terms, or see the state solicit alternative development options. So it'd be a shame for the state government to have a hand in the demise of our historic fishing village. So we must demand accountability of all parties involved, and our voices must be heard loud and clear.
Eva, do you know how much time there is? What is it? When is the renewal up, or when is it due?
So there's, yeah, so there's something with August where it goes up, but it's definitely supposed to be. I mean, we haven't really received any feedback from anyone regarding the development. So we put that resolution forth. I think it was like February 16th, and we really haven't gotten a response. So I think I don't know, like it just doesn't feel right that you know, nothing's been going forth.
Like you said, there's something fishy going on down there in Galilee. I like that.
So would it make any sense for us to, I mean, I think we're starting in a kind of very strong position, not necessarily that that's a bad thing, because, you know, I read through everything in the motion, including all of the information about the original contract, which was not easy to read, but but the fact of the matter, but you know, so what you, I mean, everything you say is absolutely correct. I was just wondering, would it make any sense at all, say, for the town council to either draft something to send to DEM ourselves first, and, you know, indicate that we need an explanation and give them a time frame before going to the AG's office? That was the only thought that I had. So that, you know, it's clear that the Narragansett Town Council is 100% behind what you're saying, and, you know, that we won't let this pass. So that was just the only thing I thought of, maybe to try first. And then, you know, both barrels blazing.
Yeah, well, the issue is with, we want DEM to never enforce the material the terms of the lease. And so, I mean, the property's dilapidated, and
Right.
I don't know, like, so that's, was there anything going on there? So that's my point. And I did consult with our town solicitor, and it is a legal motion. I consulted with him, and I don't know if Mark, if you want to comment on anything on the legality of it, I'd appreciate it.
I think the town council, if they wanted to pen a letter, they could, and maybe set a deadline for a response, because we know, Eva, based on your interactions and Jim's, they basically ignored the town to date. So I think that, I mean, it may get their attention again. I'm surprised myself that they haven't responded to either the town manager or you, Eva. So you can go either way, but I'm happy to write the letter to the Attorney General and to DEM. It is shocking. I mean, maybe we're missing something, but the lease terms seem to be clear. And there seems to be a willful breach of those terms. And to even entertain allowing them to renew after material breaches. Unless there's an amendment we're unaware of, I just don't see it. It just seems clear that there's a breach of that lease. So, yeah, silence is concerning. So happy to write the, I'm happy to write the letter on behalf of the town council, or in conjunction with the town council, or follow a letter by the town council, whatever you prefer. But I'm ready, willing, and able to write something on behalf of the town.
Mark, can I just ask one other question? August deadline is approaching. Things happen really fast in this place. So if we, I mean, what do you have any concept at all of what the Attorney General's office would do with this? If we did, if we followed this?
Obviously, this is just try to bring to the attention of another state officer the importance to the town of Narragansett this matter. What they'll do with it, I mean, the Attorney General could not respond to it, could ignore it, just like D is. And I would send it to the AG, but I would also be the Department of Administration and DEM as well, to light to as people as possible. But yeah, there's no option to respond, and I'm not sure that we would have standing to take it beyond that. So it's just making bringing it to light is basically the purpose we're trying to satisfy at this point.
Yeah, I think if you drafted a letter, I think that it would be good and give them a deadline. I think that would be a good place to begin because they have ignored individual, like, did they ever, I missed it. So in February, when we did the resolution, did you do a reach out on your own as an individual counselor, or did the Galilee group do it, or how did that go?
No, so Jim reached out and we didn't really get any responses.
Yeah, but you, the Galilee advisory, you individually, because I'm just wondering, would it make a difference if it was the Narragansett, the council as a whole? Or was it the Galilee advisory?
Well, we had the resolution. That's like the strongest thing we could have done at the time was we put the resolution.
I think
there was no response to that. So I'm just saying that there could be other issues going on, and it's asking for an investigation. So the investigation might mean like bring back like nothing, or it could be something. What I just don't want to see this property, something happen. Like, we don't want more parking, and I think there's other investors out there that may, maybe like if they don't want the lease anymore, or they're not going to comply with the terms of the lease, then they can put in an RFP, because there are people out there that are interested in doing a good development for Narragansett. So that's my point is, it's a strong stance, but it needs to be done because, we're going to miss this opportunity, sort of like we did with, here. So I think if we just wait and don't do anything, it's not going to cause any harm by just asking for an investigation of why the property looks the way it does, why there was never, and why the lease terms weren't enforced. That was my point, and I know that there's a lot of support in the community for this. There's a lot of people that feel strongly about it. I'm the representative for the Galilee advisory, committee, and then I'm also on the lease advisory committee. So, and then everyone's very. I mean, it's been forever. It's been. That whole property hasn't really been cared for. I don't know. Is there like any intention of is it associated with the marina expansion? I don't know. So is there something to say for that? I don't know. But
well, I think we are all. I mean, we all. I don't know what's going on with my sound, but
no, Jeff,
it's so weird. It's always something. I thought it was because I was clicking a pen, but apparently not. But then it stopped. So what I was going to say is that I think we are all in agreement with, with the outrage that you feel. It's palpable how ignored we've been in this circumstance. I completely agree with that. I just, I'm concerned that we have to make sure that we take the right step. It doesn't have to be particularly measured, but it has to be the right one because time's running out. And, I don't know, I am also curious as to why this has never really come up, to the extent that it has now before, because this isn't something that's happened in the last year. This has been going on for, for a decade and a half.
Right.
So
it's state property. That's why.
Well, yeah. So there's that. And so that's the other point too, is it's state property, but still, they are, I read the contract. You're absolutely right about, the position that you take. So I just want to make sure that we take the step that's going to have the best results for what we're looking for. And if this is it, fine. If there's a better way to do it, fine, which is kind of why, Mark, I'm looking at you.
It would be easier if there was a line of communication, Deb, but there appears to be zero communication. So, and time is running out, and we have no idea what discussions are occurring before that deadline. The town council could follow up to the resolution it made with a letter from the 5 of you requesting either a meeting or an explanation as to why this is allowed to happen, and ask for a response, within, I don't know, 10 days. And then if you don't get a response, then I guess I could follow it up with a letter to the AG. So
could we send a copy of that letter? Could we send a copy of that letter to the AG and possibly the governor? I mean,
yeah, you can. I would copy as many people as you can.
I would too.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, we have some public comment. Dan, who do we have first?
First is Catherine Ciliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Ciliberto, 48 Earls Court. This is a motion to direct the town solicitor to file a request for an investigation. First, I think we have to determine if we have standing in this matter and exactly what our standing is. Do we have the right to ask for an investigation? We just really have to set the parameters of what our rights are here before we go marching to the AG's office demanding an investigation. He could just say, forget it, and then we'd shut down and that's the end of it, as opposed to going a more circuitous route, which might get us there, might take a while, but it'll get us there sooner or later. I just don't want us to put ourselves in the position where we're just shut down. I worked for the state for a lot of years. Believe me, I know how they work. Thank you. Bye.
Catherine, Dan.
Yep.
Next is Deb Aubin.
Deb, please state your full name and address. Right now you're muted, so you might have to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yay. Okay. Hi, I'm Deb Aubin, and I appreciate your time. And I'm with the Friends
Deb,
of
can you just state
Galilee.
your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 20 Marine Drive.
Great, thank you.
And first, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Eva for putting forth this consent motion. And I think that the town has cooperated enough with the state and the Lighthouse Inn's leaseholder, Procaccianti, because we have compromised, allowed for a potential amendment to the lease for retail space, and also that they didn't have to necessarily run that as a hotel. Now, I don't know if that amendment ever made it up through the state and that happened, but it was something that the Galilee Lease Advisory Committee did approve of in response to a proposal by Procaccianti in September of 2019 for an upscale restaurant and event venue with outdoor deck space and a couple of small retail spaces. So that was, again, back in September of 2019. There were no net new parking spaces that would be gained. And at the time, the Lease Advisory Committee, I think it wasn't perfect basically, but it was something that was believed that would improve what was there now, that's for sure, and was not going to become a parking lot. So if we fast forward now to January, another proposal, nothing has been done, obviously, as everyone can see with that property. There's another proposal from the leaseholder, and they reduced the building footprint from 13,770 square feet down to 2,400 square feet, comprised entirely of 4 retail spaces, or basically a strip mall. So The rest of the square footage, what do you think that was going to be used for parking? We know, as we've just discussed, that Proc Shanty has been in default of its lease for a number of years, resulting in that ugly decaying building that we have there now. At this point, as I said, I think that we have cooperated, we being the town, and we being the Friends of Galilee, who've worked closely with Rhode Island DEM, trying to understand what some of their challenges are, et cetera, et cetera. But I think at this point, we do have to, if, you know, that we should go in there and pass this specific motion, because it's just been a merry-go-round for the past number of years as we've paid attention to it. Prior to, it's just been sitting there, I guess. I think we need to start looking at the future, and we need to look at a better vision and for future development of Galilee, because, you know, that's a jewel location there, and that's what should be there, as a jewel, not an ugly building. So anyway, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Deb. Dan, who do we have up next?
Next is Teresa Tanzi.
Hey, Teresa, please state your full name and address.
Yes, Teresa Tanzi. While I live in South Kingstown, I am a state representative for Narragansett and South Kingstown. And I just wanted to speak about this. You know, as a reminder, Galilee was created as a strategic holding by the state for the preservation and protection of critical fishing infrastructure. And that is the key mission of the state when it comes to all things Galilee. That hotel was put in as an exception, you know, many years ago. And the lease, as was stated already, for that expires in August. And there is an option for the state to renew it. And whether or not, you know, they've been in violation of their contract for this lease, it seems very apparent to any of us who have driven by it. We can understand that they haven't opened their doors. They didn't meet what appears to be the requirements for their lease. But evicting someone is a very different process from not renewing a lease. So what DEM is doing is, you know, I speak to them often. This is obviously a very important, you know, piece of not only the town of Narragansett, but for the state as a whole. And, you know, they are in constant discussions with the current leaseholders. But I just want people to recognize that there are limits as to what the state can, should, would, you know, everyone will have their own judgment on that. But there is a difference in what they can do right now and what they can do in August. And we, as the public, are not necessarily privy to every single thing that's going on as part of their discussions and negotiations. I will speak with them and, you know, make certain that they're aware of this motion. And you know, make sure that they have some sort of a reply, even if it's something to say that they're in negotiations which can't be made public. And they're well aware of the situation, which is essentially what I'm getting from them when I discuss things with them with regard to this. But you know, they don't have a formal statement, which is why I'm guessing that they haven't responded to the resolution. And you know, my recommendation for you all would be to send a letter to the chair, but the governor sits at the top of that. So rather than the AG, who's a law enforcement arm of our state, we should go to the executive and ask our new governor what the plan is for this and make our plea to the new governor. The AG will not necessarily, if that's the option that you all decide to go with, by all means continue with it. But I think that the most productive means of dealing with this is to speak to the new governor, and I will make certain that DEM understands that you all are waiting for a response, and you know, we can move on from there. I think a lot of assumptions are being made right now. I think a lot of the news that's happening, frustrating news, incredibly frustrating news that's going on with CRMC, disturbing news that's going on with CRMC can cloud some of these determinations, and it's a very high stakes issue right now. So I understand that everyone is getting without an official word from DEM is getting very upset. But, I think that asking the Attorney General to expend resources on this at this very point might not be the best next move. I think that, speaking with the governor is probably the best move that, the recommendation that I would make. And I will work to get that, get some time on his schedule as well, if not with him specifically, then with his staff. I just wanted to bring those two things up to speak with the governor, and that this is meant to be about fishing infrastructure and protecting it. It was taken by eminent domain, and to bring I know the town has ideas, the residents of the town have ideas of what it would be like to develop this water adjacent property, but we have to recall that the whole reason that this was created was, again, to create that strategic holding by the state to preserve and protect our access to food. And all one has to do is look at what happened in the Suez Canal a couple weeks ago, how one small, ship accident can disrupt an entire world's industry and food and all of those things. If you look at what happened in Texas when we had, freezing temperatures and the havoc that wreaked, that we should be more invested than ever in protecting our critical fishing infrastructure so that we as a state can provide food and access to that food most easily for our residents. And that's going to be my top priority moving forward on this, project, whatever happens. That's where my energy is, not necessarily on, commercial, unrelated to fishing, uses, but in actually protecting the fishing industry and making sure that, that duty that we took on when we took that land by eminent domain is maintained. So I appreciate your time and your attention to this matter. And I'm here to work with you. It's the largest producer of jobs and income in, the entirety of the town. And I really think, even in the state, it's a major significant economic driver. So, consider me a partner in anything that you, have going on and need moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for public comment. Let's go around the council one more time. I know there's a few different ideas floating around. Susan?
I'm all set. I'm good.
Okay. Eva?
Yeah, so again, it's about making a statement and making an impact, and time does go by fast. It does take a long time to get things done. So getting the attention by this motion is what the whole point of it was. And there is a lot of things other than, when we look at it, like we want to know why exactly the terms of the lease weren't enforced. There's a lot of maybe other factors. And, again, like if we send it to the Attorney General and he says he doesn't want to investigate it, fine. But there is, it is a legal motion. It's solid. And again, I think if we don't vote for it, that I think we may lose that piece of property to a development that we don't want. And then, what are we going to say to our residents who have been emailing all of us for support of this motion? So I just want to be on record as saying that.
Thank you. Deb?
I think we could maybe amend this and send it to the governor. I think I can't imagine how that would be disturbing for the folks who did email us, because we did get a lot of emails in support of this motion. But I don't think we should not do the motion. I think maybe we could modify it.
Patrick?
I had a question for Mark. Mark, when that lease is up, will the state consider other bids? I mean, it's just not a blanket renewal, is it?
Well, they have the option to renew.
Right.
And we, based on what we know, it appears they're in default. And according to the lease, that if they're in default, they should not be granted a renewal. That doesn't mean the town, the state will not renew it. The state could renew it. So the state, if the state renews it, that would be the end of it. I think that's a concern. if they close the doors on
Yeah.
on other potential, projects or bidders. It is difficult. I mean, it's an ongoing active lease. I can understand the hesitancy to get into the details, but not responding at all, not even calling Jim back.
Disturbing.
To say, this, we're aware of it, we're on it, we're in negotiations, whatever it may be, something general. The radio silence is disturbing and concerning. But, the problem is, we all know, in letter or no letter, if they go and do something, they close the door is closed. So if you're going to make your concern notice, if you want concern noted, you can't wait until August.
Right.
And I understand that's the deadline, but you can't wait till the eve of renewal.
Okay.
So,
I think we should amend this to notify all of the above, from governor on down, all the local reps, the federal representation, state and senate, and and notify everyone. So on this, and maybe the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So all of the above, I'm for it. So we can do an amendment to do all federal elected officials, governor, attorney general's office, and all state representatives and senators related to this parcel as we put on notice.
yeah, I think my only thought there would be, if you're going to write a letter voicing your concern about the situation, asking for a dialogue, to Deb's point, that may be more effective coming from the town council,
Right.
as opposed to the solicitor.
Sure.
I agree. The standing issue is an issue. You don't need standing to ask for an investigation. Doesn't one. But if it's going to the AG, then I would say, okay, I probably should pen that one. But if we're going to go to the governor and the other elected officials that Patrick's suggesting, I think it would have more weight if it came from the 5 town council members.
Correct.
You
It's
can
about
help us
time.
write it, right?
It's about time we went after somebody, because everybody's trying to sue us all the time. When we get so many requests and all these trivial lawsuits, it's about time we push back a little bit on somebody.
And my point was, maybe you could help us write it, Mark.
I'm absolutely willing to help you draft it.
Thank
Right.
you. Because I think all these points have to be made.
Yep.
So we want to do it
Because
really
you're
well.
right, that August comes quick, and that
Yeah.
ship's gonna sail, with or without us.
So this motion is to direct the town solicitor to file a request for an investigation. That's what this is.
Tim
Correct.
has his hand up.
So if we amend it, what are we amending it to? Are you still asking for investigation?
I think, Eva, what do you think? We'll ask for an investigation and CC all these federal representatives and the governor, and let everybody know what we're doing.
So that's the same motion then. You don't even have to amend it.
Sure. Well, yeah. That's what this is about. Susan,
But we
maybe get your
said-
brother. Susan, maybe get your brother in here to help us here. He's
I'm
a
just
month to
saying,
month.
to CC everybody, it doesn't have to be amended. We do that with
Right.
resolutions already.
Right. Does that sound reasonable, Mark?
I just want Jim to be able to speak, because he's had his hand up, and I know we've mentioned him a few times, speaking, so I didn't know if he had any clarifying comments.
Right.
Jim Tierney?
Yeah, he's had his
Yeah,
hand.
I didn't see his hand. Yep.
If I may, the caller that called in earlier, Miss Orban, her timeline and her recollection of the history of it was accurate. I have spoken to DEM, but I'm not privy to the legal discussions going on between the state and PRIX. I have spoken to them though, but it seems to have stayed status quo as it is now, where there's no other proposals coming back from PRIX. But but I'm not privy to any legal negotiations between DEM and them. That is fact. But I have spoken to DEM, but it's limited to just the discussions, the basic discussions about it. And I did give them a heads up as a professional courtesy of the pending agenda item.
So, but I think what you guys all just talked about sounds really good. Notify all the head officials, you know, that we would like an update, give them a deadline. Mark can help us write it. And then if it doesn't come to anything, you know, then we could go back for the investigation. But I think we should collectively demand it, and we should CC all those important people that have the behind the scenes information to give it to the town and start there, because we haven't done that as a group. I know it's been a long time, but it seems weird for us to go right to the Peter Nerona's office for an investigation. I would rather go to the governor and say, what's the status, or go to the people, Parkashani with the lease, and say, what's the status. It seems like we want to work in partnership with people. So I would prefer that than an investigation at this point. I want the information, what happened and why. So that's where I stand. But I mean, I think you get a good outcome from it.
I would cut right to the chase and request an investigation and let everybody, you know, all the big muckety mucks know what we're doing and what's going on down here. And the newspapers are going to get a hold of it. They're going to squawk about it. And, you know, it's a David and Goliath scenario here.
So I'll just say a few things and then we'll go ahead and vote. When I first saw the motion, I have to say, it seemed a little aggressive, I thought. I thought maybe it was a kind of a 0 to 60 type of thing. That was my first thought. However, I probably got 50 or 60 emails, and every single one was for this. Literally everyone. I don't know if I've ever had that. Not even one email was a plea to vote no. So it was 100% for it. And we do say, you know, I always say that whether you agree or not, my role is to listen to what the people in town want. And then the other thing is when we had the workshop with DEM and Prakashanti representatives, we did ask DEM about the lease, and we're completely stonewalled.
Yeah.
Like completely. And I know things are happening in the background, but you know, it is a government entity on it is public land, and we weren't given even the slightest bit of information on it. We know that it's a breach. You know, it's clear that there's a breach of contract, maybe knowingly, and maybe, you know, it's been accepted, but it is there.
Purposely.
So I still don't know if it's the right thing to do. I can't say that it's the right thing. Maybe there'd be a better, more tactful way or more diplomatic way to do it. But, and maybe, you know, there's a very good chance it's going to get ignored anyway, the request. But I think in this case, I will personally be in support of it because I don't have a better idea. So, so that's that for me.
Okay.
Do we want to go ahead and vote or make a motion for an amendment?
You can vote.
Okay. All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopic, aye.
Patrick?
Attorney said we don't need legal standing at this point. Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 16 from the clerk is a motion to consider the expansion of the licensed premise service area for one specific establishment with liquor license in good standing, subject to state or local regulations. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
And do we have a second?
Second.
So this is this for New Dragon?
Yes.
All right. So this is for New Dragon, looking to do some outdoor seating in the picturesque area the parking lot behind, next to the gas station. I know that there was a little bit of an update on this in terms of the fire department taking a look at that. Jim, would you be able to just give the council a quick summary of that?
Yes, the fire department and the building official's office went over there today. Being familiar with the agenda item, Chief Partington and Wayne Pimentel went over there and they spoke with the owners and they said this is doable. They just want a slight modification, some modifications made to their plan, but they support it. Both of them support it with the modifications. So my recommendation would be to allow it with all the other businesses that have done it in accordance with the recommended modifications and approval of the building official and the fire marshal.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, so this falls in the bucket of, the COVID, take it outdoor, outside.
Wayne is on right now. He was over there. If you have any specific questions about the site.
Okay, thanks. Any council questions for Wayne or Jim?
Yeah, I had a question. That looks like that encroaches. So that's the back of the thing east of where the park is. So you're cutting off that access from the laundry to the sandwich shop, correct?
Good evening, Patrick. This is Wayne Pimentel. We did go out there and also verified on GIS the property line boundaries. Again, not the a real survey, but the property does extend from the back of the Chinese restaurant all the way to the back. There's an access road in the back of his parking lot.
Yeah.
So he does own what is now a cut through from Narragansett Wraps to the back of his property over to the gas station and laundromat. That is, the owner stated that was not an easement. He in fact owns it and it's just been that way and everybody crosses over. So we told him that, we would certainly need, further confirmation that he does in fact own that with no legal easements over that for the abutting property owners. But with that being the case, he would be allowed to put those tables and chairs in the back and technically cut that off, but there still is the access road that all of the properties can utilize for access in and out of their properties.
Right, that's 80 Point Judith Road, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's 80.
All right, so that. All right, hang on a minute. Hang on. Just take a look at this. I got an
So is
arrow
the cut through the one that goes past the Gansett Wraps, that cut through there? That's the one.
It's right.
Yeah, there's an access road right in back of
Yeah,
Narragansett
yeah.
Wraps, the back of O'Neill's, and it runs
Right.
across the back of all the
Right.
properties. When
Right.
that would still remain as is. I'm talking about kind of just a cut through right directly in back of the Chinese restaurant that is in front of Narragansett Wraps and goes over towards the gas station and the laundromat. That is
Okay, I
supposedly
know what you mean.
privately owned.
It's a pretty highly trafficked area.
I wasn't sure if Patrick was done, but Wayne, that's 16 tables over there between the laundromat, the Gansett Wraps, the liquor store. It just, the people pumping gas. I mean, I don't know. That seems like really an unsafe place to put 16 tables out there.
Well, he does technically own the property. He would put up barriers to protect those tables. And there's still probably about another, I'm going to say 12 to 14 parking spaces still left in the back parking lot, even with taking up some of these parking spaces.
Terry, do we have the applicant on?
He said he was going to be on. His name is Jim.
Oh, there he is. Yep. Got it.
Yeah.
Dan, can we move him over?
Just moved him.
Thank you. Hey, Jim.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Do you want to just give us a little quick description of what you're looking to do?
Yeah, just kind of exactly how Wayne described it. So we wanted to extend our the outdoor dining area to the proposed plan that we had submitted. So when we do open up our dining room, that we can have more ability to seat more patrons, because we will have a limited capacity by doing alternate tables. And we will be putting down temporary barriers, and Wayne has suggested doing cement blocks or planters or something heavy that will block off the area going from the gas station to our property line. So there will be no, it will protect the customers and the tables from anyone trying to cut through that way. And we're also going to put up a sign on the other side of the barrier to instruct people that that's no longer a cut through for that access way. And then people, we still are going to keep open the other side of it for the Gansett Wrap side. So that will be a one-way entrance. So if you come in through the Point Judith Road, and then you if you're going towards Gansett Wraps, you can still go to the parking lot that way, and we're going to leave that side open. But there will be a barrier on where our dumpster is, the back of the door. There'll still be barriers to protect the area of the actual dining area.
Okay. All right. Does anyone on the council have any questions for Jim while he's on?
Yeah, I had a question. Jim, that schematic there said you're 70 feet to the east from the back of the building, correct?
So yeah, the schematic I had brought up was just a rough estimate when I had submitted plans. I was speaking to Wayne and Kevin earlier from the fire department, and I was gonna, when initially what we did, Sarah had just said we need some rough dimensions, and so we measured it from the back of the restaurant to about we were taking away about 2 or 3 rows of parking spaces into the parking lot. So there's still plenty of parking towards the back as Wayne had suggested.
Right, and you're the north side of the property is that white fence that that borders Gansett Wraps, correct?
The white, yes.
Right. Okay, all right, because the what I'm looking at here, this aerial, this isn't a geo aerial, this is a different system that's not quite accurate. Okay, so I so you're taking 3 spots. Okay, I see what you're trying to do now. So you'll still have plenty of parking for the size of the restaurant for inside too, right? Correct?
Yep.
Okay, I'm good with it, I guess. You're just cutting that right away off from the gas station, grocery store to Gansett Wraps, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And people will still have access through the actual access road in the
Right.
back.
Yeah, just further to the east. That's on the back of your property.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. Okay.
Eva, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question. So Jim, you haven't been open at all indoors. You haven't had any indoor dining, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been in there. So yeah, I mean, I think this would be a great option for you to be able to.
Yeah. So because I mean, we've been really worried about like restrictions, and we want to keep everyone safe, and so like we don't want to. The worst thing we want to happen is something like we finally open up and then there's an outbreak, and like we just really want the options for customers to feel safe, and they have the outdoor option, and we'll be able to space tables more.
And that's what I was thinking when I would go in there. I was like, this is a great option, because I know you probably were doing that, because every time I'd go in, one of the tables are.
That's 41 feet. Okay. Yeah, no, this looks all right.
Yep.
This looks good.
Okay. Any other council members? Good.
Not good. I'm glad he's putting up some barriers and some plants or something to make sure it's safe. That's all I care about. So I want him to do well with this business, but I want the people that are visiting to be safe as well.
Definitely, yeah. That's a big priority for us. So.
Yeah, good. Glad to hear it, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jim. We're going to go ahead and take the vote. All in favor, start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 17. Before I start this one, we're going to go around and have one council member make one nomination each when we get to it. I know people like to jump in, so I'm gonna state that now. Number 17 is a motion to appoint 5 individuals and select one town council representative to serve on the recently established Economic Development Committee. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right.
I actually have another a motion, like to amend the motion.
Want to amend it? Okay.
Yeah, so I just had a comment. So I was surprised again to see this on the agenda. And I know the last time we talked and we were just going to look at this even in January when I just looked up a recent article earlier today from when we approved when we put this committee forth. And there was a lot of feedback with, and I'll quote Councilor Murray. I think a solid mission statement is in order. He was on board with this. I agreed with that. And then, and I think having the right people and the right mission statement was going to make a difference. And then, and Councilor Deb Kopek said she researched other EDCs and other in the state in order to draft an effective mission statement in the future. So I just would think that we would want to have the mission statements and goals ready, and then just before we appoint individuals. And, it's something that I'm happy to work on with as well, and making sure that we have the right mission statement, the right goals, and that this committee is going to be doing, what the intended purpose is. That was just the comment. So I would make my motion is to just table it until we get the mission statement ready. And it could be like, it might not take that long. So just, however quickly we can put that together.
Okay, is there a second to that amendment?
Yes and no. I mean, it's like a chicken and the egg. Do we have the committee come up with a mission statement? Is that,
sounds good.
a possibility? And
There kind of is a mission statement, though, if you know,
They could refine it if they'd like.
right.
Yeah.
So there's a document here that says its mission is to help create opportunities for economic development through desirable business growth, expansion, retention, and attraction, and to develop a climate conducive to maintaining Narragansett's quality of life. This committee will serve in an advisory capacity to the planning board and town council. So would that serve as a mission statement?
I think so.
I mean, it is one, but there's other ones out there that are more focused on different, like industrial growth or tech growth or whatnot. It's like, so I've seen other ones out there that promote, encourage, and facilitate the development of responsible and properly planned business and industrial growth within the community in order to expand and strengthen the local economy and diversify the community's tax base. So, that's.
Yeah, so could we, we could kind of put both of these things together. Here is a basic mission statement that can be refined by the folks on the committee. I mean,
and let them punch it up. That's
Yeah.
what they're there for,
Yeah.
right?
right. If
So
pick the
anyway,
right
we
people.
get this thing rolling here. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
this
to
thing's
me,
been,
it's like a couple, like I said last time, like a couple of weeks doesn't really make a difference to have something all like usually like I mean, I would think that when you appoint somebody, they have their mission, vision, goals, and then they're charged with doing something, not just like, oh, you're going to be on this, figure it out.
Well, we already voted for the Economic Development Committee. Tonight is just putting the members on. So there is you read a mission statement, Deb, that was on there. I think, again, Evan, maybe you'll be the representative of the committee and you could bring that additional mission statement and see if they'd like that to add that to the actual mission statement.
All right, so we have the amendment by Eva. Is there a second? Patrick, you're the only one who looks like they're thinking, so.
well, I know what she's saying. I know what she's trying to do, but I think I don't think it's a big deal if we get this thing rolled out and let those guys, we have a basic mission statement. If they want to punch it up, maybe that'll be their first charge, is to come up with a detailed mission statement and get approval from this council. So we're all on the same page of what direction this committee is going to go in.
But we haven't had an academic, a EDC since 2016 right now.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's my point is, and I'm not trying to stall it or anything. I just want to set the committee up for success, because last time there was feedback that, there were issues or whatnot. So
Yeah, well, that was more of a personal egos that were kind of mucking things up there, but hopefully this isn't gonna get that involved. So I think we should let's form this committee and that'll be their first thing, to come up with a detailed, simple, understanding mission statement that we can all agree with. That benefits the town.
Okay, so there's no second, so we'll go back to the original motion. What we're gonna do, since we have 5 appointments, is each council member will get a chance to make a nomination. That seems to be the fair option. So we're gonna start with Susan. Do you have a nomination?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to nominate Bretta Combs. She's a full-time resident in Narragansett, a mom. She owns a business. She owns Monaghan's. Lots of experience. She has leadership experience and very innovative, and has expressed an interest and did an application. So I'd like to nominate Bretta Combs.
Okay, any comments? All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
I'm just going to abstain from all the voting and
Okay.
give up my nomination.
Okay. And wait, did you say you're not going to do a nomination? Okay. Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0, 1 abstention. Deb, do you have a nomination?
I do. Amy Marcello. I'm sorry.
You stole it. It's all right. That shows that we never talk behind the scenes.
That's true. Amy and I had a very long conversation on the whole process of the EDC. She has some good experience, some local experience in terms of a small business. She also has some really fascinating and different ideas, and I thought that she would make a really excellent member.
Any thoughts or comments? I do want to second what Deb said. She also has what I like is that she has a tech and marketing background. And I think that will be very handy on this sort of committee. And that is also, I think, why it is tough to get the perfect mission statement right off the bat, because times change. Over the last year, we've seen this influx of work from home. That might be something that this committee focuses on a little bit as well, try to attract full-time residents here. And it's just hard because as times change, the mission statement might change. But anyway, I do support Amy. So all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee
Good
Pugh,
luck.
aye. Motion approved, 4-0, 1 abstention. Patrick, do you have a nomination?
Yes, I would like to nominate Stephen Glazier. He is an attorney. He was on the previous committee, EDC, and I think he has institutional knowledge of town of Narragansett, and I think he would give this committee some direction.
I'll second that nomination. I know him as well.
Okay. I do want to just say, because we didn't specify as we went through. So Susan's nomination for Bretta Combs, that'll be the number 1 member, seat 1. That's a 3-year term. Deb's nomination for Amy is also a 3-year term, seat 2. This nomination for Steve would be member 3, and that's a 2-year term. Is that okay with everyone?
Sure.
Okay. All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-0, 1 abstention. All right. So I'll be nominating for the number 2 seat, or sorry, number 4 seat, a 2-year term. Kind of a curveball. I had a nice conversation with this fellow over the weekend. I think he is going to offer a perspective that will be different from some of the other members. This is Paul Zonfrillo. So this is for the seat number 4. What I talked with him about for a while was, again, a focus on this idea that Narragansett can be kind of a haven for people that work remotely. And I think that falls into the purview of this committee, because one way to spur economic activity is to increase the full-time residency in town and not just focus on tourism or, you know, more traditional business, but the population and the demographics. So I'm going to nominate Paul for this. Any questions?
I'm going to second that because I also had a conversation with Paul this afternoon. And one of the things that I have been looking for on these committees and commissions is for new voices. And I think it's really helpful to have as many different kinds of people working, you know, on the committees and commissions, so that we get, so that people will continue to realize that, you know, they too can be on one if they wish, if they want to serve the town. So that's one good reason. And another is I kind of like that idea as well. So second.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Nay.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved. 3-1, 1 abstention. And then we do have.
I have one more nomination.
Okay, I do want to make sure this is fair. So Susan, you could go ahead and make yours, but if anybody else has another one, we can have an open discussion.
I'd like to nominate Kevin Durfee.
Okay.
He's a resident, a very successful businessman. He owns George's. He served in the past. He's got the most creative, innovative ideas all the time. Anybody that knows Kevin, he's got, his brain is going all the time about things that should happen in the town. And I just think that he was a valuable member then, and he will be one today if he gets appointed.
Great. I agree with you. I think that with Kevin, you know, he's had this great restaurant that's been so popular and so great for so long, but he keeps working to improve it. And through the years, you know, if you went there 10 years ago compared to when you go there now, he just keeps upping the ante with it. And that's the kind of thing that you really want, you know, someone who doesn't just kind of rest on their laurels and is always looking for different creative ways to improve. Do you have any other nominations for this last seat?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Joe Lembo. He's got a broadcast background. He knows a lot of people in the state. He's, you know, he's well versed in this type of, currently sitting on the Chamber of Commerce. He's, you know, this would be a no-brainer for him. So,
I think he's a great guy, Patrick.
yeah.
But I just put up Kevin, but I think he's a great guy too.
Yeah, I think Joe's a great guy as well. For me, the differentiator in this situation would be that Kevin's a full-time Narragansett resident, and Joe isn't. So it's not, you know, nothing against him, but if you're picking committee members for a town committee, I'd rather have someone who's full-time here. So.
Right.
Dan, looks like we have a hand up.
We do. Catherine Ciliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Ciliberto, 48 Earls Court. People forget why we disbanded the last EDC. 3 different members who are up again, Glazer and Lembo and Durfee, they pretty much spent their entire time trying to convince the town council to lower the commercial rate to the same rate as the residential rate. And they did succeed in part. The town council lowered the commercial rate to 1.4 times the residential rate. Do you know that immediately gave Dunes Club a $21,000 savings on their taxes? I won't even get into what CBS and the rest of them spent, but that's what that committee did. They spent their entire time doing that. And in the process, they harpooned two people's re-elections, Rinaldi and Wilkins, because people just didn't want to hear it, frankly. That is not what an EDC is all about. And I have a concern about Mr. Lembo. Mr. Lembo submitted an application saying that he lives at 20 Black Alder Trail. He does not. He lives on Masera Farm Road in Johnston. He takes the homestead exemption there. His cars are registered there. He is on the planning board for the town of Johnston. And you have to be a resident to be on the planning board. So I have a concern about the application that he submitted. But again, it was just like one theme, these people, three of them, Glazer, Durfee, and Lembo. And that was it, end of story. And that's why I think it is good to have a very, very specific mission statement and to make sure they stay on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, so we have the two nominations. Deb, do you have a preference so that we can get a consensus and vote on one?
All up to you. Drum roll.
I hate when this happens, and I've lost track of who it was Kevin, right?
Kevin Limbo. Kevin Limbo.
We're also going to go back to public comment after, because we have one more person.
I would prefer Kevin for two reasons. One is because he is a full-time resident, and the other is because he, I don't actually know him. So just based on what I know of him, I think he would be the better of the two candidates, especially because he has a successful business here in town as well.
Okay. Dan, can we move over Meg Rogers?
Yep. Margaret Rogers.
Meg, please state your full name and address.
Hi, everyone. Meg Rogers, 68 Earls Court. The night the EDC was dissolved, both Patrick and Susan vigorously defended its mission, and I am encouraged to see you restoring it, because reinstituting the EDC evidences the fact that the town government recognizes that it is our local business community that helps form the foundation of our local economy, and that all of you respect the enormous challenges they face. I am asking you to please support the appointment of both of these individuals, Joe Lembo and Kevin. Kevin, of course, is an iconic figure. He's a job creator, and his reputation speaks for itself. He also has a unique knowledge of the fishing industry, and it is important, if not imperative, to have people not just who may tell you that they understand the risks that private sector business owners take, but are people who actually take those risks themselves and see the consequences play out in the lives of the people who work with and for them. And Kevin is one of those people, and so is Joe. And I want to speak specifically to the skills that Joe brings. He has unmatched talent in the marketing world, which extends well beyond our borders. And we need to please not be so provincial. And we are a small economy in Narragansett. We're a small economy in Rhode Island. And certainly you looked at Governor Raimondo, she reached well beyond our borders to create jobs and have the economy thrive. And we need to have vision and to do the same thing that she did, to look well beyond our borders, and it will add a vitality. Joe literally knows everyone. And before you can do anything, you need to know people and you need to know something. And his skills in marketing uniquely qualify him to message and to attract new business and to help our existing businesses thrive, all in ways that support our town's long-term priorities. And he will be moving here in a couple of years from what I understand, so I don't think that should be a deal breaker for him. And I do want to mention that I do hope the council will support Patrick serving as the liaison on this committee, because for as long as I have known him, helping business has been a passion of his and of Susan's. However, Patrick did not serve on the previous EDC, and he will bring an energy, a maturity and a fresh outlook to the work. And he ran on rebooting the EDC, and I hope you will allow him to be the liaison on that committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Geez, good testimonials. Makes it tough, huh?
That's good.
Cheap plug there. I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, so we did have the kind of consensus for Kevin based on the comments right before Meg spoke. So Deb, unless you've changed your mind since then, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. So this was a nomination by Susan for Kevin Durfee, the number 5 member. It's a 1-year term. All in favor?
Susan Cicilline, Banana Y.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
I'm gonna, well, I mean, it's a done deal here, but I want to support Lembo, so I'm gonna say no.
All right, Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 3-1 with 1 abstention.
Hoping for a 2-2, but all right.
What'd you say?
Nothing. Hoping for a 2-2.
Oh, gotcha. I still want to be able to go into George's every once in a while.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have the council rep. Do we have a nomination?
I'll nominate Patrick Murray.
Second.
All right, any discussion? You want this job?
Yes, I guess. Yes, of course I do. Of course I do. Yes.
Okay. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline, Banana Y.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye. Although that maturity thing, I don't know.
I know. I question that myself. You know. Get ready for that single tax rate to resurrect itself. So.
Patrick, your vote?
Can I vote for myself? I guess, yes. Aye.
All right, Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1, 1 abstention. I mean, sorry, 4-0 with 1 abstention. All right, now we have number 18. Motion to appoint, reappoint 5 individuals to the Historical Cemetery Commission. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
I also, there were
All right, so-
reappointments, so I just wanted to bring the reappointments up. Mike Millen is a reappointment and Elaine is a reappointment. So they've
Okay.
already served 1 term, so they're asking for reappointment. So if we square them away first, I think it'd be the right thing to do.
All right, so that's you have that motion to nominate those 2. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline, Banana Y.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. All right, so is there a nomination?
I have a nomination for a new person tonight, Jesse.
We have, right, we have.
Yeah.
I'm
We have
gonna
3
have-
spots.
I'm gonna have Eva start that.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yep. So I would like to nominate Lindsay McGovern. Her background, well, she's got a Bachelor of Science in Accountancy and from Providence College, as well as an MBA from Providence College. And I've communicated with her. She just wants to serve her community. So one of the things that she did put was that she is interested in serving the town in Narragansett and sharing her experience and expertise for the benefit of the town. So she just wanted to be more involved in the town. So I thought she would be a good nominee for this.
And I'll second Eva's nomination. I too, that was going to be my nomination. So I'm glad I know Lindsay. I spoke with her. She very much would like to serve in Narragansett. She's a mom. She has a strong finance background, but very interested in serving, and she likes history. So I'm happy to support that nomination.
great. All right. So all in favor. So this is for the 3-year term. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline, Banana Y.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. So Deb, did you have any nominees?
Yes, I thought I wanted to nominate Josephine Carubia. Just what she, her background, she has a PhD. She is very involved in, she's already, I think, working with keeping one of the historical cemeteries, in good shape. Clearly she has a real love for this. So I think she'd be a great choice.
Sounds good. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jarzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. So that was for the other 3-year term. And then we have one last vacancy that goes until 2020. Actually, it just goes until this November. So is there, Patrick, do you have a nomination for that? Anyone?
No, I'm pretty dead on this issue.
Okay. Oh, you've been saving that one?
I've been waiting all week for that one.
Jeez. I don't have a specific nomination for this last seat. Does anybody else have another one?
I don't have one in front of me.
Okay.
Let's go dig one up.
Yeah, do you have the, do you have the sheet? Because there's 2 other people.
No, we have, it's Peter Fakiki and
Yeah,
Mike Rowley. I just don't know either of them. So we can either make that last one or we can put it on for a future.
Oh, I know. So yeah. So I think I did. It was like McGrally. I'm just gonna pull up their. I mean, it was just. I only found the Negrelli one. So did nobody else review the other ones, or?
Yeah, I reviewed both of them. I was, I thought Peter Fichetti, if that's how you say his last name, and I apologize if I mispronounced it, was, would be fine.
I'll second that then.
Okay. Any comments? All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jarzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 19 is a motion to reappoint 3 individuals to the Conservation Commission Tree Board. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, so we have 3 seats for this. Patrick Federico has requested reappointment. Patrick, you and I were on the council that appointed her for her first partial term.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to nominate her for reappointment.
And I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Patrick. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva.
Eva Jarzynski, aye.
Deb.
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. So then we have 2 remaining seats. Any Susan? Well, actually, I'm just going to let this one kind of be a free for all. We have 2 appointments. So any nominations? No. If not, then I will go ahead and nominate Andrew Baruta.
I'll second
he's on
that
the-
nomination.
Okay, does everyone know him? On the pension board. I know I had spoken with him when we did that
Yes.
nomination.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty impressive. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jarzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick? You just have to unmute.
Patrick Murray, aye. Sorry, I was mumbling underneath my breath there. So.
Jesse
turn
Pugh,
it
aye.
off.
Motion approved 5-0. And then we would need one more nomination for the seat that goes until 2022.
So just based on, just looking at the documents, and I'm going to butcher this last name too, Melissa Kalatides, I don't know how you say that. I apologize. I'm just butchering names tonight. I thought that she has, she's educated, she's interested, and I think she would be, that was the one I wanted to be on. So
That's right.
I'll second that nomination, Deb.
All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. We have one item left. However, we only have a minute until 11. So we'll do one. We almost made it, but one extension. Is there a motion to extend by 15?
I'll make a motion to extend the meeting 15 minutes. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Eva.
Second.
All right. So all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 20 is a motion to receive the solicitor's summary and related recommendations regarding the Galilee Beach Club's use of its Class D liquor license and its utilization of the caterer's Class P liquor license on its premises located at 220 Sand Hill Cove Road. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eva. I will let Mark Davis speak on this.
Hi, good evening. Back in the on the March 1st meeting, there was a discussion about the Galilee Beach Club's use of its own Class D liquor license and catering events in which the caterer utilizes a Class P liquor license. And the town council directed me to do some more research and look at the positives and negatives and make some recommendations. So having spent some time looking at the history, speaking to legal counsel Kevin Daly, who I believe is on the meeting here, I put together a summary and I made some recommendations. The issue was really surrounding the use of the Class P caterer's liquor license. The club has its Class D license. There have been no complaints to my knowledge. They've been conforming to the rules and the regulations and restrictions set forth by planning and zoning, which were adopted by the town council. So it all came around to the Class P liquor license. Nowhere in the applications historically could I find any reference to their disclosure that they would be using their facility for Class P events. As I said in my summary, the state awards those Class P liquor licenses. So there's no violation per se of law, but it could be construed to be a violation of the restrictions set forth by the town council after getting the recommendations from planning and zoning. So they've had a lot of events, and Class P liquor licenses and catering events are supposed to be for intermittent events. They've had a lot of events, and as I state in my summary, they're bordering on it. They were so regular that one might argue that it's more of a restaurant than a catering activity. So having gone through everything and speaking to their counsel and working with their counsel, I had formulated some recommendations. Number one, they have 8 non-member catering events, which would involve serving liquor through the Class P liquor license from May 21 through, I think most of them end by September of 21, but there's one event in May of 22. Those events have been contracted for. They're illegal contracts. And my recommendation is to allow those to go forward because I think the Galilee Beach Club would likely be sued, and then we would likely be dragged into it. So my recommendation is to let those events occur. My other recommendation to the town council is that you ask, you instruct the Galilee Beach Club not to enter into any more catering, non-member catered events until their liquor license comes up for renewal. And at the time of renewal, we can have a discussion on that. And I have a thought that I want to circle back to on that particular matter. And the other suggestion or recommendation is if we're going to allow these events to go forward, I did see some email correspondence involving the building inspector of the fire marshal. So I would suggest that the town allow them to go forward, that the town be named additional insureds on both the Galilee policy and the caterers policy, and that the building inspector and the fire marshal go out to inspect the premises to make sure that they're in compliance with the building code and the fire code with regard to these types of events at this particular location. So if they're in compliance with the building and fire codes, and we're named additional insureds, I suggest that you allow those events to go forward so we avoid litigation. With regard to future catered events, I think if they want to hold those going forward, this should definitely go before planning and zoning again, before the renewal is heard by the town council in November. Because that's not something that was ever disclosed to planning and zoning that I could find. It was never addressed by planning and zoning. And if it's allowed to happen at this club, you can rest assured that this is going to occur at all the clubs in the off season. So I know Kevin Daly's on, and he wanted me to reiterate, which I'm happy to do because I agree with it, that the planning and zoning and the rules and restrictions adopted by the town council previously allows for the club to use their Class D liquor license all year round. And we interpret that to mean that as long as there's a member present, that as long as the liquor is being purchased as required for a Class D liquor license, and that it's being served by Galilee Beach employees who are properly trained, licensed and insured, that they can hold those events. They can hold those events all year round. They don't have a seasonal liquor license. Kevin did ask, and I agreed with it. He wanted to know that if the Galilee Beach Club decided that they did not want to hold any more catering events after these 8, he asked me if there would be a need to be referred back to planning and zoning. I said no. So my recommendation to you is if you have confirmation from the Galilee Beach Club that they do not want to hold, they will not hold any more catering events after these 8 are held, there would be no reason to go back to planning and zoning. They have the restrictions for the Class D, and it would be renewed in the ordinary course as every other Class D liquor license is renewed and revisited. So that's the long and the short of it. It came down to the Class P. I think there has been an abuse with that. I think they have these 8 that are contracted for. We deal with those as I suggested, and then we address them. If they choose to go down that path, then we address it the way we would have addressed it had we known about it, and that would have been with planning and zoning its input.
You're on mute, Jesse.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mark, for doing the work and the research on that. We do have Kevin on here now, so we'll give him his time to speak, and then we'll take some council comment. Dan, can you move Kevin over? Kevin, please state your full name and address.
All right, let's see.
Kevin, you there? All right, we can see you. doesn't look like you're muted. Or maybe you are. Yeah, we can't hear you.
We should switch to Sunny. Here he is.
Yeah, I don't know if he has any.
Yeah, it doesn't have the audio. Need the audio.
So while we wait for Kevin's tech issues, Mark, this motion is to receive. So this is basically just to receive the info,
Yes,
right? And
Yes.
we're not taking any action tonight.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we're not taking any action, there are recommendations. We just receive the recommendations but don't act on them. I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, I mean, well, you asked, the town council asked me to summarize and
Pros
basically,
and cons, I remember that.
yeah, the pluses and minuses, which I've done. I'm submitting it for your review. And if at the next meeting, you agree with the recommendations, you agree with some of them, not all of them, I would put a motion on to, adopt those actions that you.
I got it. Thank you, Mark.
All right, we can wrap this up then, right? Let's just wrap it up.
So we're just accepting them on file for tonight.
Right.
That's
Kevin,
it.
do you have audio?
No audio.
No. Okay. Kevin, it's all right. We're just receiving this right now. So it's okay. Any
At
further
least he's
action,
laughing.
we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry you stayed up for it. For this.
I will say, for Kevin's purposes, that when you look at Exhibit B, there's an event. I think the first event, catered event, is on May 2nd. So it's going to be important, I think, to at least make a decision at the next meeting to decide whether you're going to allow catered events or not. As I said, there's really nothing illegal about it, and it's open for interpretation as to whether it violates planning and zoning because it's silent. I do think it goes against the interest of or the spirit of what was approved and presented because it was never discussed. But as I said, these are legally binding contracts at this point. So when you take this under consideration, I would give that a lot of weight.
And Mark, can I just add too, because it is a private club and I know we're in charge of that license. Do you notify the members, like do the people that belong to that club have any idea what's going on, and will they be notified that there's going to be decisions about that club or not?
Yes, Kevin is working with the leadership of the club. And then in turn, I am assuming the leadership is notifying all of its members as to what's going on.
Okay, just as we look at that list later on. Tonight, we're just going to get it, but just
You're
down
gonna
the
get
road.
it, and right, you have it. And Kevin has it because I'm sure he's seen the agenda. And I have spoken to Kevin many times, so I know his clients are well informed.
Okay, great. So let's get this one wrapped up before we have to extend again. All in favor of receiving the summary and recommendation, starting with Susan.
Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
I think Kevin's trying to speak now. I see some motions. He's got
Still can't hear anything.
Well, let's vote before he gets his voice. So we can get out of here.
I just did. I just voted, so.
All right. Aye. Aye.
All right. Sorry, Kevin, we still can't hear you. Thank you, though. Deb?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye. Let's go.
CPU, aye. Motion approved 5-0.
Please.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Mark. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
Good night,
and Jim.
everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Terry, see you tomorrow.